If you've ever been on the edge of your seat for an exhibition hockey game, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back, and a congratulations to the Canadian team. That game was insane. One of the best hockey games I've seen in a long, long time. Congratulations to Canada, our brothers to the north. Just an awesome game from start to finish. But it is Friday. We've got a lot of stuff to go through here. We've got a breaking story here in the health sector that's weighing on the Dow. Celsius, what on earth happened? Did they turn the temperature up to 40 Celsius? That stock is hot and popping. We've got Mark Petrino on deck this morning. We've got Anne-Marie after the show. We've got a full day here on Benzinga's pre-market playbook. Let's get ready and get to it. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome and good morning. Let's go ahead and get this morning started off the right way. Paul, good morning. Welcome back, buddy. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Do-It-Yourself Has, good morning. Crimp Biscuit, Sebastian, River, and Chuck, good morning. John, Celsius up. Yeah, Celsius. Boy, temperature was turned up there. Big B's, it's Friday. It's Friday. Am I right, boss? Let's make some money here today. All Zorts, good morning. Couch Potato and Hugh, welcome back. Good to see you. Shadow One, welcome back. Jim Ferrari, one of my favorite names. Love it, Jim. Welcome back. Conditionally Accepted, White Chocolate Mocha, Ed, Gary, Market Sniper, Jamo, Brandy, Yassine, Day Trader. Awesome job on that Uber trade. Nice breakdown, too. I like how you did that in the thread. Check out my man Day Trader on Twitter. He's sharing his trades with us. ATL Russ, how's it going, boss? Tom, good morning. Ligarino, good morning. And Diamond Hotline, good morning. We are off. Let's go ahead and take a look at the market. I've got my screen shared somewhere here. SB, good morning. All right, we're going to take a look at the SPY here. We are still, wake me up when something changes, right? Nothing is really changing here levels-wise. We got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 sessions now just kind of sitting above this 20-day moving average. Yeah, we did set a new all-time high in there, but barely. We really don't yet have that oomph to break out. And I'll be honest with you, at this point now, I think we probably aren't going to get that. We're going to be fairly range bound here until we see what NVIDIA reports on their print, and we'll see what kind of effect that has on the rest of the market. Gotta be what the market is waiting for. Sure seems like it. Oh, here we go. Bobby, good morning. MRC, good morning. 3D in the house, good morning. RKD, good morning. JJ, Bernhard, Ferris, Larry. Okay, we all here. We're good. We're going to have a day today. No question about it. So SPY here, I know we're kind of waiting on a breakout. Maybe we're waiting on a breakdown. There's market uncertainty. There's tariff tantrums. There's all this different stuff, but the SPY remains resilient. Market just kind of holds and trades sideways. Which direction are we going to go next? Producer, maybe we should do that as the poll today. It doesn't necessarily have to do anything with today, but which direction do you think the SPY is going to break next? Time doesn't really matter. We're currently in this sideways formation right here. I guess you could make an argument that this goes all the way back to the beginning of November, depending on how you want to look at it. So I ask you, folks, what do you think? Do we break up? Do we break down? Do we set some new all-time highs? Do we test some of these moving average and former support levels? Where do we go next? I'd love to get the thoughts here from the group. I do want to take a look at some articles. Of course, we've got some tweets that we want to go over, some stats that we want to go over. The U.S. stock market here, that was flat. It was actually pretty flat across the board when I woke up. We did get some UNH news that I'm going to cover here in a sec that really weighed on the Dow. That kind of sank it. So we have, looking at a mixed open here. Dow's under pressure, but we know why, and it's nothing to really... It's nothing really to worry about, I suppose, unless you're in those stocks. That could be kind of a blasting. I did want to go down here to a couple of tweets here. This first one here from Peter, and if you folks need these, I can go ahead and throw these here in the chat, the actual tweets themselves. The S&P 500 has returned an average of 10% per year since 1928. Pretty nice sample size there. And has done so despite an average intra-year drawdown of 16%. And often drawdowns that are much worse. So what's the lesson here? Volatility doesn't equal a permanent financial loss unless you sell. Now, the whole reason that I'm bringing this up is because this is part of a larger concept that we should really kind of take to heart, especially those of us that are active on a regular day. Just take a look at yesterday on the SPY. We were on this show here. Everything was looking weak. Bitcoin was getting pounded. SPY sold off out of the open. We broke the previous day's intraday lows. We chopped around the bottom there. And then, afternoon came. People had some lunch. They stopped being hangry, maybe. Maybe they had a adult beverage at lunch. I don't know, but it seemed much more calm in the afternoon. Market trades back up. How many times have we seen this, right? The day prior, a little bit weak in the pre-market, sold off out of the open, bounced hard and went green. And so if we actually take that entire thing that we're seeing, call it the buy the dip mentality if you want, and we extrapolate that over a larger period of time, well, look, the market likes to do that even in some of the larger indices. And this isn't just some fly-by-night stat that just happens to be good. This sample goes all the way back to 1928. We're talking about almost 100 years, back to the Great Depression times. So it's just another reminder here that volatility is not bad. And I know that we currently have an administration where the top guy loves to flap his gums about stuff. And when that happens, that's going to create volatility. How we react to that and how we capture that is going to determine what our P&L looks like and how happy we are at the end of the year. Don't be fazed by drawdowns. It happens all of the time. And as Peter here is outlining, it's not actually a bad thing unless you sell. This also leads into why having a plan for every trade of every time frame is super important. Of course, you guys know I wasn't going to let a Friday go by without giving you a tweet and a stat from Ryan Dietrich, so let's go ahead and roll right into that. Ryan Dietrich, chief market strategist at Carson Research, highlighted that the second half of February is usually riskier for S&P 500 returns. We were talking about this as recently as yesterday. In fact, Jay Rice, I know he's not here yet. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning in Arizona. We'll give him a break there. JK. We were talking about seasonality a little bit with yesterday, and I've been kind of hinting at seasonality as we approached February here. This is a regular topic that we discuss on Happy Hour. I've shared a lot of seasonality charts from one of our analysts that's in there that takes a look at this. Here we go. He's highlighted that the second half of February is usually riskier for the S&P 500 returns. He mapped the data from 1950 to 2024. Again, not a shoddy sample size at all, which showed on average, the index has declined consistently after peaking on February 15th. So the TLDR, if you will, we start this week period of seasonality about midway through February, I guess right after Valentine's Day, as it may be. And this generally lasts into March, kind of near the end of March. The interesting part here, if you remember back to COVID, the COVID low, the absolute dead COVID low, I believe was March 24th. That actually fit really well into seasonality. We got that ridiculous V bounce from COVID and the seasonality tailwinds behind it. Really, really good stuff. So here we go. It does look like we're in a weak period here. Shouldn't really surprise anybody. What does this mean for NVIDIA's earnings next week? Oh, I definitely want to hear from you folks. So in any case, just know we're in this period of negative seasonality. We've talked about this before. I don't want anyone to be caught off guard by it. Let's use that to our advantage. All right. Let's use that to our advantage. All right. Now, let me go back here to Pro. We don't have an article for this yet, so we're actually just going to take a look at the chart, but I'll tell you what's going on here. We're going to look at UNH. Okay, so first of all, here's your daily chart, and you can see we actually just broke down pretty big. We're actually going to the next support level. Just broke a support level here. Now down to the next support level. We're actually filling this gap to the downside. Stock is down over 11%. This was actually down 8% earlier, so it looks like it's taking the next leg down here in the pre-market. Yeah, indeed. Bottom is not in yet on UNH. So you might ask yourself, what's going on here? Well, we got a couple of things going on here. Number one, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Department of Justice launches an investigation into United Health Group Medicare billing practices, citing sources. If you folks want that, we can give you this ticker give you this link here. Excuse me. Here you go. Pro members, you don't need my help because you have access to that data already. Shout out Benzinga Pro members. So we have an investigation here by the Department of Justice saying, hey, your billing practices might not be on the up and up. Stock getting whacked on that. Investor Bill Ackman piled on here in response to the Wall Street Journal report of the Department of Justice investigation into United Health's Medicare billing practices, posted on X that he would avoid the stock. So that, as you would imagine, having an impact on the stock here. Now we're down over 12%. I tell you what, this gets worse the longer we wait. Next leg down here, free fall now for UNH. And this means that some of the peers here, they are not unaffected. Humana responding to this as well, as some of these companies might think, boy, we might be next. I think CRC was another one. No, I can't remember the name of that. I can't remember that ticker. I'm drawing a blank here. CNC. Centrine, yeah, here we go. CNC. See, I got it there. Centrine, this is also down in response to that. So this is what's going on here with UNH. This is why the Dow is getting absolutely pummeled right now. Dow futures down over 0.5%, 0.55% to the downside prior to the open. So that's what's going on here. Again, unsure if this is going to be a buyable dip. I do want to see how these stocks trade out of the open. And you know what else? We might be able to ask Anne-Marie and set up a fresh options trade here on some of these stocks. So let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Well, I'm sure we're actually going to hear more about this story too throughout the course of the day. That would be my guess here. Okay, let me take a look real quick. Ferris says, "Good morning, my first meeting." Ferris, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy yourself here. Hopefully you find it helpful. Always looking for feedback too. JJ says, "We won." You did, and you know what? I know that Canada is actually the winner of that game, but here's the reality. We are actually all sports fans or all hockey fans or everyone that watched that game, we're the real winners because we got treated to something special. I hope they do this again. Take notice, other leagues, because the NHL is skating circles around you with what they do around their All-Star break. Nothing else even comes close, even the baseball All-Star game. But that's a discussion for the sports show. I don't want to piss people off here. Lion, good morning. C Spot, good morning. Maverick, good morning. Hustle and Bustle, good morning. Montoya, MRC. You guys are going off here today. CELH. Okay, you guys want to take a look at CELH. We're going to do that next here. Lion says, I think the market is going to stay choppy until we have some clarity from the Trump administration. Every day we wake up, there's some new measures. Musk and Trump are running their mouth. Market reacts to it. Bingo. But this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, Lion. This is the volatility that we can actually take advantage of. It's important that we don't make our job harder. It's already hard enough. Let's not make it harder on ourselves. Okay, let me get over to Celsius because I know that this is a popular stock. As Fairchild says, we have a sports show. Not yet, but I'm working on that. I want to get enough demand for that so I can go to the higher ups and be like, see, we need this. Me and Dan. Oh, God, that would be so much fun. Okay, I'm digressing. You got me all giddy on a Friday. I don't know what to say about that. Fairchild, we'll see what we can do here. Anyway, Celsius, let's get back down to business here. Celsius, ticker CELH. What's going on here? Celsius holdings are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q4 financial results. The company also announced the acquisition of Alani Nutrition for $1.65 billion. This a huge pop off the bottom. Shout out to all of you folks that continued to bring Celsius up here. It continued to make a bottom. This didn't even really trade sideways. Like every time it looked like it was going to make a low and then maybe trade up to one of these levels, bang, we got a new low. This spot in here from November 2024 to about the end of January this year was the closest we got to real sideways. It actually broke that low, set a new low, went to oversold territory, and now here we are coming up off the bottom on huge expanding volume. I saw that they're having a presentation here. I see a lot of FinTwit is on this. A lot of really good stuff here. Really, really happy for our group. It seems like this, to me, seems like a lot of kind of retail or small guy traders like the story. And I like that those people are winning. That makes me happy. So real nice pop here off the bottom. You can see we actually did pop above the 20, the 50, and the 100-day. We're about midway through the 200-day or up to the 200-day. Honest to God, I don't think this is out of reach. The stock has come from much, much higher. Double top here at 100, which obviously drove us down. 41 and a half, I think that's doable. Maybe not today, but if things hold up here, that could be pretty good. Also, seeing right now breaking news. This was not on my list, so just want to cover it real quick. Seeing this here on the televisor. Coinbase, SEC will drop its litigation. How about that? Crypto should be popping here. Yes, Bitcoin trading up on this. Coinbase up 5% here in the pre-market on volume. More good news coming here. This is awesome. Let's see if there's any more. Wall Street Journal says Coinbase says that the SEC intends to drop the lawsuit against the crypto exchange. Okay, I guess we want confirmation because they're saying Coinbase says. CEO Brian Armstrong on CNBC right now. That's what's going on here with Coin. Boy, they're not even going to let me get through my list. They're just going to throw breaking news at me while I'm trying to go down the list here. How about that? Okay, and let me check one more thing here real quick. There we go. Okay, so CELH. Let me know if you guys have any trades on this. Are you looking to trade this now, given what's going on here? And then do you know anything about this product launch, right? Like, I am not familiar with Alani Nutrition. I know that they do energy drinks and snacks that are like centered around fitness. So this is probably a more healthier option. Doesn't have a lot of the garbage in it. And I would imagine that Celsius is trying to arc towards the fitness angle, which makes a lot of sense here. Quote, we are pleased that our strategic initiatives are driving long-term share gains and strong retail sales growth. We are investing behind our growth through targeted strategic investments and vertical integration and capital efficient expansion. Gerard Langhans, CFO of Celsius. So here's the one thing that I'll kind of say about this. So we were just talking about how this could potentially have some more room to run. This thing's been extremely beaten down. We talked about the impressive range that it has. We take a look at the short interest here on Celsius, and this is kind of where I'm thinking we might have something here. We might have some more juice. I know it's made a pretty big move already. If you were in that, congratulations. If you were not, what do we do next, right? Well, here is some data for you on the next part of that trade, 20+% of the float shorted, 20.49% of the float shorted, and 5 days to cover. Now you have good earnings. Now you have an acquisition. Let me tell you something. If this company mentions that they're going to have some other type of product, or there's any excitement about something new coming around the bend, the shorts, I think they're going to be forced to cover. And I think you might have a little bit of a squeeze action here. So keep this one on your radar. I know we kind of, as far as looking at some of these moving averages, I know we kind of popped into no man's land. Does look like there was some support here at 31 3/4, maybe some resistance here at 35 to 35.5. We're right between that area. So let's see what this does, especially right out of the open. Let's see what types of levels it finds, whether it just dashes right out of the open or pulls back and finds some support. I think there is going to be a trade here in CELH. And you guys trade this one all the time. You guys trade this one. Lion here say, I appreciate this. I listened to the call. There we go. That's what I wanted to hear. I listened to the call on CELH. They had put a great outlook out. Okay. Again, I think that if they release a new product with as popular as they are, I think that could lead to some more upside here. We'll see. Keep Smiling says, I'm so many different swings and leaps. I'm in is what that means. I'm in so many different swings and leaps in CELH that I have been beaten up on, but today is going to be a huge day. CELH has a great product, and the new product will help it even more. I'm going to give you a preemptive register ring. I normally don't do that. So be sure you book those for a gain so I don't look like a doofus. Good stuff there. Keep smiling. Glad this is working out for you. And I bet you're not alone. John is asking, could it be due for a short squeeze? Yeah, I kind of think so. We'll see what goes on here. CELH. Okay, let's see. What time is it here? It is 8:20. We've got, 10 minutes until Mark Petrino gets here. Let's keep running through some of the news. More news here is going to be on Rivian, the company that just loves to lose money. I know. They got a cool looking truck, but man, oh man, they love to lose money. I've been warning people, screaming from the hilltops since that Volkswagen financing and joint venture and the huge pop on it. Company loses money, continue to lose money. Here we go. Rivian down 5% here today after earnings. Rivian Automotive Q4 earnings highlights: revenue beat, EPS beat, 2025 guidance, R2 update. Let's take a look at that here. Go ahead and share the story here. Oh, I got all types of issues with my mouse. Sweet. Okay, electric vehicle manufacturer Rivian Automotive reported the fourth quarter results. Revenue of $1.73 billion. That beat the street consensus of $1.4 billion, so pretty good there. Company reported an adjusted loss of 46 cents per share in the quarter, beating the street estimate of 65-cent loss per share. And again, another beat there. Achieved a gross profit of $170 million in the fourth quarter. Company announced it closed its joint venture with Volkswagen Group for a total deal size of up to $5.8 billion. And Rivian previously recorded fourth quarter deliveries of 14,183 EVs, which was the company's second highest quarterly total. Some pretty good stat there out of the CEO. But why is the stock down here today? Well, we've got another article for you here. Gary Black left unimpressed by Rivian's earnings call. So what happened? The future fund managing partner, Gary Black, expressed some surprise at the stock's positive reaction, noting on X that Q4 gross profit beat was driven by a one-time reg credit sale amid a clearly weak full year 25 guidance. The EV manufacturer reported record quarterly revenue, of $1.73 billion, surpassing analyst estimates of $1.4 billion, while posting I just read those to you. Here's the tweet itself. Rivian plus 5% in the post-market, posted better than expected Q4 revs and gross profit, driven by a one-time sales. The guidance was light on deliveries versus the expectation, and adjusted EBITDA was at the low end of expectations. So just like we've seen the theme across a lot of these stocks that are reporting earnings, the reported quarter, that's just one piece of the equation. If you guide light, or if there's something poor or something undesirable in your guide, look out below. You are likely going to sell off. Rivian doing that here. Rivian closed at 1361, down 2.3%. And after hours, it rose about 0.5%. But if we go to that now, you can see Rivian popped, sold back off, and now here this morning we are reversing and trading lower. So what's next here on Rivian? Let's take a look at the daily chart. To my eye here, it sure looks like this 1267 is going to be the point of interest here today. We are actually right. Yes, we are right beneath the 20-day moving average. So we'll see if we recapture that here today. Always possible. But honestly, if I had to pick here, or if I had to place a bet or a trade on Rivian, I think that we would at least kind of test this area around 1266, maybe down to 12.5, and see what kind of support we can get. Also worth mentioning there that the 100 days down here at 1215, that actually lines up pretty well with the low for the recent low that we put in from like the end of January. I think if we continue to break down, if we lose all of this stuff, it is not out of the question that Rivian tests $10 at some point in the future. I'm not betting on it to go there today, or I'm not placing a bet on this here today. But looking at the chart here, clearly in a downtrend. Actually, we can actually probably draw this trend, right? Look at this. Look at this. I'll even be generous. We'll put that last pop in here. So Rivian clearly in a downtrend. This is one of the things that we want to see break for some of the longs. We really also want to see some better guidance, and we want to see continued cleaning up of the balance sheet and a swing toward profitability. Okay, so that is Rivian. Let's see where we're at here. 823. Oh man, we are cooking. We are cooking, bro. Let me cook. We got a ton of news to go through here, and we are doing it. Okay, really quickly, I'm just going to check up with the chat here. Ryan, CELH said they are expanding in France. They're not expanding in French. Expanding in France and Germany and other countries. Yes, that would be pretty awesome. Jay, good morning. Mullen is still doing great. The short that you never have to cover up, huh? Keep Smiling says, this is the best way to start the morning. Thank you for doing these every day. Keep Smiling, you are more than welcome. I'll tell you what, my favorite thing in the morning after coffee and maybe a little bit of breathing to wake up here is hanging out with you folks and talking about the market. I'm addicted to it. What can I say? It's my pleasure to be here, and I appreciate each and every one of you that joins us here this morning. Okay. That takes care of Rivian. Let's take a look ahead. Obviously, we have those China stocks continue to move. Alibaba's been on an absolute ripper. We can cover some of those if we want. The quantum stocks are making some news. Those are moving around. Apple, you know what? Before we go to Mark here, I do really quickly want to cover this Apple story because to me, this just absolutely makes me laugh. Let's bring up the Apple chart here real quick. AAPL, look where we're at. Looks like we are actually going to kind of trade up towards this 260 handle, at least to my eye. It looks like that. We're in a pretty good trend here. But we do have some news here that I want to share with you. So, okay. Apple CEO Tim Cook reportedly meets Trump as tariff impact looms on iPhone sales and the company's China strategy. Citing an anonymous source, Bloomberg, and those anonymous sources, we love those, don't we? Bloomberg reported a possible meeting between Cook and Trump at the White House. They're cooking up something, aren't they? I'll stop with the dad jokes. The purpose of this meeting, however, remains undisclosed. The escalating trade war between the U.S. and China has put Apple into a tricky situation. Trump administration's 10% tariffs on Chinese goods could potentially hinder Apple's efforts. Also this month, Apple received pressure from the UK government to create a backdoor for accessing encrypted data. Wish I had 4 hands so I could give that UK idea 4 thumbs down. That's absolutely terrible. And then the other thing here was there was another article that we had here. This is what I wanted to go to. Despite all of that bad news that we kept getting about Apple, despite the gloom and doom and the channel checks and the sales dropping and all of that, Apple stock has run up over 10% in a month. Jim Cramer says the iPhone maker is, quote, ramping, end quote, and the credit goes to the Chinese subsidies. So interesting. I thought China was a huge reason that Apple's business was going to turn around and this was going to be a big short and we were going to have Apple really struggle in all of that. Gosh, how did that not happen? I was told by all of the talking heads that this was going to happen for years and years, and it's just not happening. We'll take our victory lap when we get it. Development comes as Apple grapples with challenges in its second largest market, having reported an 11% decline in Greater China, revenue to $18.51 billion for the first quarter. Company said during a recent earnings call, Tim Cook addressed China's National Consumer Subsidy Program, which was announced on January 20th and covers smartphones, tablets, PCs, and smartwatches. So, okay. The subsidies are part of what Morgan Stanley describes as China's most aggressive stimulus tone in a decade, aimed at boosting consumption through a moderately loose monetary policy. We had a great discussion about China and technology yesterday in our happy hour. There was a fairly good consensus that, look, man, first of all, things are rough in China. They're likely going to have to do stimulus. We're kind of expecting that. And if that happens, should be good for a lot of these stocks. There should be some more room to run on some of these. Remember, Ryan Cohn just took a huge stake in Alibaba. Tepper looks like he's killing it as he was buying Baba at 84, according to his 13F filing from the end of the year. So these guys are absolutely crushing it. It amuses me. It amuses me when I see all of these really, really super negative headlines about Apple, and I just keep my mouth shut, wait a month, and the stock is higher a month later. Amazing how it seems to work out like that. Okay, with that out of the way, it is 8:30 here. I was told that I had a new intro here for Mark because we had the super hard techno beat last week that was really going to wake you up. I didn't play this one here today, so I don't know what this is like. So if you have headphones and you have the volume cranked, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Let's bring on Mark. Okay, that was a little bit shorter than I anticipated, and you caught me taking a sip of tea, but the music or the sound much more doable. Mark, good morning. How you doing here this morning?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I don't know if you're a hockey fan. I don't know if you caught that game last night, but oh my God, that is one of the best hockey games I've seen in probably close to a decade. Sorry that the U.S. didn't win. Congrats to Canada, but man, oh man, had a great night last night, and we're spinning that positive energy into a Friday here today.
Yeah, hockey's it's a great sport, and it's kind of an interesting thing to kind of prelude here before we talk about the
Sure.
markets, right? On Wall Street, you basically in equities, you basically have three kinds of traders. You have what we call a buy side trader, what we call a sales trader, and what we call a market maker. So the buy side are the clients. They're the people that have to pay commissions. They're the hedge funds, the retail investors, mutual funds. The sales trader and the market maker work on the sell side, which means they work for a broker dealer. They get paid a commission to execute the trade. So there could be a lot of tension between the buy side trader and the market maker because they're each in a position where they can use each other's information to take advantage of it. So that's why relationships are so important. So what I wanted to get to was the sales trader is the go between. They're kind of like the cop. And so the sales trader is not a job for people that have a thin skin, right? Because you're arguing with
Mhm.
traders all day. And a lot of them that I dealt with came from, they were actually in the NHL. There was a firm called Weekday, where I don't know, maybe five guys from the Rangers used to work there as sales
Oh, wow.
traders. And a bunch of the guys I traded with were hockey players in college. So I don't know. I'm kind of running on a little tangent here, but that's just I think just a little tidbit of learning there.
You'll always get some time to run on a tangent when we're speaking positively about hockey. It is my favorite sport. It's what I played when I was younger. Unfortunately, I was never very good, but I still love it. Mark, again, thanks for getting up early with us here on a Friday. What do you got for us today? I got to be honest. The stocks that you've been covering recently have been awesome. What do you have on deck for us today?
All right, I'm going to share my screen here.
Yes, sir. Lion saying soccer is fun. I actually really enjoy soccer, by the way. Hockey was just always my sport. Okay, here you go, Mark.
All right, just to get started here, I want to point to a website which I will not mention the name of, but but what strikes you here, right? What strikes you here? If you were not in touch yesterday, you would have thought, "Wow, big sell-off on Thursday. What investors think was behind Thursday's sell-off?" Thursday sell-off on Wall Street. Well, let's go look at the actual market, and I'll just bring up SPY here. And SPY was down 42 basis points. I mean, if you were to look at that, would you think like yesterday was a big sell-off? No, of course
No.
not. So this is one of the things that kind of frustrates me. I mean, it's fun to make fun of them, but they give information that might make people confused. And it's not just there; it's at a lot of different places. So
Mhm.
best bet is to just kind of let the market tell you what to do. I think yesterday's action, even though we were down a little bit, was bullish for the S&P at least, because look at what's going on here now. A lot of times when markets rally, they go up like a staircase, right? They don't go up in a straight line. And what was they go up in a series of trading ranges like a staircase. And what was resistance in one stair becomes support in another stair. And when that kind of happens, it tends to set the tone for another move higher. So as you can see here, 610 is pretty clear, and over the last 3 days, it has become a support level. So I think that this is pretty interesting action. And just to kind of look at this here, right? So closing price here, 609.75, opening price here, 609.81, so a
Mhm.
6 cent difference. Closing price here, 609.73. We're talking about a $600 security, and yet it trades within these literal pennies of each other. The high trade here, 609.66, right? And it's really kind of amazing because if you don't understand the psychology that drives this, then there's really no way you could ever figure it out or understand
Mhm.
why it happens. No fundamental manager or someone who comes from a fundamental mindset could explain it. And not that I'm criticizing fundamental people. I mean, you got to do what people like, and there are people that are really into fundamental analysis. But to me, this stuff is mind-boggling, and yeah, it really is. Another kind of mind-boggling thing, which I want to just kind of bring out, is there's a lot of these different sayings on Wall Street, right? And one of them is markets have memories, and what that means is that a level that's important can stay important for a really long time. So this company here,
Mhm.
Celinese, I think is how you say it, goes into a big sell-off, and look at where we find support, right? This goes back to 2014. Every time the stock got down to around 50, 53, 54, it rallied. So this is February of 14. So 11 years ago, and the level is still important from way back then. And then look at here, when we go into this is the COVID crash. Where did it find support? Within pennies of where it found support over here. So that's why it's good to know where these important price levels are, because when a market or a stock gets to an important price level, it tends not to hang out there for too long. It tends to either reverse or break through. And one of the keys to being successful is having patience and waiting to see which way that goes. Now, I don't know if this is going to break down. I mean, yesterday's action was pretty weak, or if it's going to reverse. But my guess is that in a week from now, this stock is not going to be around 54. It's either going to be a couple bucks above it or a couple bucks below it. When things get to these important price levels, they tend not to stay there for too long. That brings me to what I think I'm going to write about today in the stock of the day column. Is this guy here talking about price levels.
Oh yeah, Axon Scottsdale company here. This is the body camera company.
Oh really?
Yes, sir.
Way to play the coming collapse of civilization, I guess, at least in the short run. But anyway, so on this particular day, we opened here. Obviously, there was some kind of news right around 540, so a lot of volume traded there. But guess what? A lot of people sold on the open that are like, oh man, this sucks. I sold on the open and the stock just blasted off and rallied the whole day. If it ever gets back to my price and I can get my shares back where I sold them, I'm going to. So on this particular day, what's the low trade here? Low trade 543.48, and the opening trade here was 540, right? So within a couple points of each other. Now, if you were trading this and you were thinking, boy, this Axon, whatever news is driving it, maybe it's bad, but it's not as bad as people think. I think the market's overreacting. Where should I go in and buy this? Maybe I'll have my price target somewhere around where there was support over here. And sure enough, you could have pretty much bottom ticked the market. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Now, again, here we come up into the present. We go into this big sell-off here, 16%. Then we get a 8% sell-off. And look at where we found support. So we're just kind of hanging out here. So I think that when I see something like this, what really kind of excites me is for a potential idea on the short side, is it's support that's above what was a gap. So one of the main reasons why we get support, as we saw, is because we have seller's remorse. People sell, and when the price goes higher, they want to buy their shares back if they can get them at the same price they sold them at. In a situation like this, where you close at this price and you open at this price, there's no trading in between here. So we call that a gap. And if there's no trading, well, guess what? Then there was no one who sold who is going to be trying to buy on the way back down. So if this support breaks and the stock heads lower, there may not be a lot of buy interest. And that would make, that would have a tendency for the stock to move through these price levels really quickly, because the sellers are really going to need to hammer it if they want to draw buyers off of the sidelines. And then your support would be down around 465. So that's 80 points there.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, let me fill in some context here, because first of all, I love the setup. The chart, this is a great look at a chart that you've picked here. Not surprised at all. That big red stick that took us from 700 down to what looks like 600 there, that happened on Wednesday, February 19th. We actually heard, we had Benzinga Pro, shout out. I had a rumor in the morning that an Investor's Business Daily swing trader was selling stock. This came ahead of several downgrades the next day. So you actually had Craig Hallam downgrading the stock to hold and announcing a 625 price target. And the interesting part about this is that this comes ahead of earnings. Earnings are in 4 days here, Tuesday next week after the close. So you're getting Investors Business Daily swing traders selling. Then you get a downgrade the very next day on a stock only 4 days ahead of earnings here. So, to your point there about a potential short, maybe you get even more bad news here from that earnings print and you have a possible gap fill below that line.
Yeah, I would have to. I haven't looked at the earnings report, but but there are certain things to look for in earnings, which you don't need to be like an expert to understand, right? Like one is you want to look at what we call the operating margin, and that's just if you take the income and you divide it by the revenue, and whatever percentage you get, say it's 5%, that shows you that the company earns 5 cents for every dollar of sales. If it's 8%, then it's 8 cents. If that's going in the wrong direction, if that's going down, then that could potentially be pretty bad for a company. So sometimes companies beat on earnings and the initial reaction is for the stock to go up. But as people look more into it and say, wait a second, even though our sales are going up, we're becoming less profitable. So that could kind of hurt us, or I should say we're becoming less efficient. So in the long run, that could be a bad sign. Another thing you want to look at that's pretty simple to figure out is if you're looking at a retail stock or any stock that has an inventory, look at the balance sheet and look and see if there's a big inventory buildup. Because if there is, what does it mean? It means that stuff is not selling. It's going into inventory. And when that happens, they have to reduce their prices to sell. Another thing to look for is GAAP versus non-GAAP, right? You'll see a company will report earnings that are GAAP, GAAP, and non-GAAP. GAAP is generally generally
accepted.
Generally accepted accounting principles, right? And let me just use one of my oft-used analogies. Say a company makes $10 million a year and they have a factory that burns down that costs them $1 million, right? So that means they would only make $9 million that year. They could come out and say our non-GAAP is we made $10 million because that was a one-off. That's not going to happen again, right? So sometimes the non-GAAP numbers will look really good, but if you look underneath them, it's like, wait a second, these numbers are not as good as they think. So those are just three things that I look at when a company releases earnings. And believe me, I'm no fundamental guru, but I think those are three pretty important things.
Yeah, all of that stuff is important. And really quick here, I'm actually glad that you brought that up, GAAP versus non-GAAP here. Just in case you're ever wondering how we at Benzinga here do things, a very large majority of the time we want to use the adjusted or non-GAAP figure versus the GAAP figure. Just FYI, we use non-GAAP figures because these are figures that analysts use to compare performance. Comparing non-GAAP figures allows investors to understand if a company beats or misses estimate. Sometimes there are no adjustments and the GAAP figure will be used as the comparable figure. So we occasionally get that question here. What do you guys use? It's actually denoted on a lot of our tools. So, okay, good stuff there, Mark. What else you got for us?
All right, let's just see. What was I looking at? Well, I think if you and I think the market's going to go higher. At least in the short run, I do think that action we saw in the S&P of what was resistance converting into support is bullish. Also, the sentiment. If we go look at this site here, Investors Sentiment Survey, it's pretty low. It's not like a dramatic example, but there's a low amount of bullish investors, right? Which means people have invested their funds or, people are, and then there's generally a high percentage of selling, which means guess what? If people are selling when they're done selling, there's no one left to sell. The market runs out of sellers and the only way it can go is up. So this was last week and this is the highest reading in a year. So again, a large level of bearishness can actually be bullish because if a lot of investors are bearish, they've done their selling and the market runs out of sellers. And this is what we call a contrarian signal here. What else was I looking at this morning here let's see. Well, Baxter looks kind of interesting. But yeah, now might I digress because I wanted to actually look at Microsoft. But this is a company that's testing resistance. And like we said, sometimes when companies get to, or when stocks get to important price levels, they don't hang out there for too long. So there's a good chance we're either going to see a breakout or a reversal, right? I mean, I doubt it's going to trade sideways. Look at here when we got up to this level. We were there for 2 days. Here it was 2 days as well. So resistance is this large group of people that want to sell, right, around the same price. So one of two things is probably going to happen. We could break out, meaning we get above the level and stay above it. And then we look for what was resistance becoming support to get ready for the next move higher. But if the breakout happens, what does it tell us about supply and demand and about the market? It tells us that the people who created that resistance with their sell orders are out of the way. They either finished their orders, they canceled their orders, and now when
Or
new
there were just
buyers come
simply
in,
more buyers than orders present.
yeah, and if new buyers come into the market, they're going to have a hard time
Bingo.
finding sellers. The traditional way that a technical analyst would look at this would be, let's just say, I'm just going to put this level there, right? And so this is about $1 above. People would say, I really want to sell up around 34.50, but the last time it got to 33.50, it rolled over. So I'm going to reduce the price I'm willing to sell at. So traditionally, the classic way of looking at it would be there's these air pockets that form right above resistance levels because the people that were above it had reduced their prices down to the resistance. So if buyers come in, they're the seller. They might have a hard time finding people to buy shares from, and they might need to bid premiums. Now, the other way this could maybe go is if we don't break out over the next day or so, some of the sellers might say, you know what, there's got to be new sellers coming into this market here. That's why the shares aren't going any higher. I don't want to miss out. I'd rather give up 10 cents than miss out on my order of selling 100,000 shares or whatever it is I have to sell. So they reduce the price they're willing to sell at, and other people reduce the prices they're willing to sell at, and you get this snowball effect. So a lot of times when you get to resistance, you sell off, and that's why. It's because of nervous sellers undercutting each other. So I
And
thought that
those
was
sellers thinking, I don't know when I'm going to get this price again. I better take it off the table and see.
yeah, that's a big thing. Like when you're in the institutional world, if you're a retail trader and you're just trading like 100 or 200 shares, it's really not an issue. But if you're a institutional trader and you have an illiquid stock, like say my forte used to be micro cap and small cap equities. That's what I mostly did. You could get a situation where you have to sell 200,000 shares of the stock and there's only 30,000 shares on a tape. And that's not an easy trade. Anyone could sell 100,000 shares of Apple because it trades, zillions of shares a day.
Yep.
But you got to be able to, it's like a hide and go seek game. You got to be able to try to find the buyer without spooking the market or showing your hand. And you could get to a situation where, like, all right, originally I wanted to sell this thing at 25. There's no one around. The best bid I'm going to get is this guy over here at 24.80. So I'm just going to go hit the bid over there. So you got to decide, like, what's more important, getting off the volume or getting off the price. And a lot of that just comes down to people's different styles. But in the buy side world of the market where I was, the hedge funds and the institutional money managers, this is basically what you do every day is, you got to make these decisions. And so we got a little bit of a down print here. So anyway, so that's another one I was looking at. I think the market's going to be firm, like I talked about, the action and the S&P, but of course I could always, turn around. But I think as long as Microsoft stays above this support here, which I'm going to say it's about 407, right? As long as Microsoft stays above this, I would be weighted to the long side. If Microsoft reverses and then this support starts to break, well, then that's bearish for the markets. And then we shift to the other side. But I think this is an important chart to watch. And
let me ask you something real quick there, because we've been taking a look at Microsoft recently. And if you zoom out just a scotch right here, you can actually see that there's another support level there at 400. And so or right around 400. So my question here, and then again, that the other stick back from August, I think that was the August 5th low, right? The yen carry trade on one. Regardless, when you're looking at a support level like this, if you're able to identify several levels beneath that, what is that? How does that change your calculus, if at all?
Well, you would say, all right, if we get through this, then what's our potential next stop? Well, then that's probably down around here. But I think if you're playing something or you're trading something because you're thinking it's going to come off support and rally, it's really important to wait for the reversal to start before you jump in. And we saw that on, we talked about the trade desk last week, I believe.
Yep. TTD. Yes, sir.
TTD. There we go. So we talked about this as a potential trade because the stock got crushed. There was huge volume. It's oversold, right? And guess what? It's still trending lower. But that's why we talked about wait for the reversal to happen. Like, for example, if you said, all right, this is on my radar screen here, and I'm thinking about buying it, but I'm not going to buy it unless it crosses back above this trend line. Guess what? You wouldn't have bought it because it hasn't crossed back above that trend line. If your trigger was, come on here. If your trigger was, I'm going to wait for the RSI to turn up before I buy it. Well, you wouldn't have bought it yet because the RSI hasn't turned up. So this shows you the concept of what's a setup and what's a trigger. The setup is like you're at a race and the starter's like, on your mark, get ready, get set. The trigger is the go. Now, if you were waiting for the reversal to start, you wouldn't have had the go here and you wouldn't have lost money. And you could still say the same thing still applies. This is still set up. And if the RSI turns up, or maybe if the RSI gets back above this lower red horizontal line, that's where I pull the trigger and jump in. Or if we cross this trend line and have a day or two where we're up, maybe that's where you jump in. So
better still, what if both things happen?
Yeah, well, then you could have, depending on your strategy, you could have a model where you could use this one, or you could use that one, or you could use both and say, all right, well, I'm going to jump in only if the RSR line turns up and the downtrend line gets broken. Both of those things have to happen. Now, in general, the more parameters you have, the less signals you'll get, but the more accurate they'll be. And that's really something that people just got to, figure out what works best for them. But yeah, I think this is an important thing. Now, if someone had tried to catch the bottom, that's the proverbial Wall Street catch the fallen knife. If you try to catch the bottom, you're just guessing. And maybe
it's very akin to gambling, frankly. I think catching bottoms or trying to pick bottoms perfectly, very akin to gambling. I really like the lesson here on confirmation, especially for reversal trades.
I was talking to one of my colleagues yesterday about the market, and this is one of these things that kind of irks me, right? Because especially like when the whole Reddit thing was going on, everyone thought it was like so easy to trade, and I think trading is like the only profession where people can show up on day one and think that they're going to know what to do. It's like, you can't become an electrician in a day. You can't become a lawyer in a day. Why do people think you can become a trader in a day? So the point is, it's good to listen to people like, not to self-promote, but like myself and Ryan that have experience, because you need the education. And, it's not like you got to go to school for 7 or 8 years, but you just need to learn some of the basic concepts. And I think that'll bring you a long way. And when I used to do the Benzinga trading school, we talked about that stuff a lot. So,
and Brandy here said, it took me 2 years of you telling me that, Mark, for it to sink in. Stubborn of me, LOL. It took me 2 years to really become profitable at all. I had a lot of gunslinging habits. Like you were just explaining, I said, God, I've always been interested in this since I was a little kid and saw Wall Street for the first time. I watched CNBC. I was the nerd of my friend group that was watching stuff about finance and wanted to get into the market. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this. And the market has a way of humbling you and saying, you better learn. You better follow some of the more experienced people in the market, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned.
And what? One of the things I've seen, and I'll bet you this is very, very prominent in the Reddit crowd, is people that start off with some success tend to end up getting destroyed because they've come into it and they think it's easy and they get arrogant. And I've seen this in the institutional trading world where someone has a strategy. Like I'll give you an example. I knew a guy that was really big into retail stocks. Retail stocks did really well for a while, so he had really good numbers. But when retail stocks fell out of favor, he had really bad numbers. He wasn't able to adapt. But because he had that initial success, he thought he was like the super genius, and the guy ended up like losing his firm over it, literally. And then on the retail side, these Reddit people come in and they make a couple positive trades and they think, oh, this is easy. And by the end of 21, all those stocks had pretty much blown up. So
if someone I don't know approaches me and says, look, I got a stock tip for you, I made $2 million last year. Versus someone that comes to me and says, hey, I got a stock tip for you, I've been doing this for 45 years. Which one are you more liable to listen to? Because I know my answer.
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah.
that's been doing it for 45 years, guy or gal, excuse me, that's been doing it for 45 years has seen more than the person that just made $2 million really quickly. And perhaps more importantly, one of the things that we've discussed here is the most important job that we have here as traders is protecting your capital. Because if you don't have capital, you're not going to be able to make more money. And so those that are able to stay in the game for long periods of time, very adept at protecting their capital.
Yeah, and history repeats itself. And unfortunately, I've been doing this long enough that I can remember, you know, like going back to the internet bubble. And there was just so many similarities between the internet bubble and everyone wanted to be a day trader. And then, the Reddit group, everyone wanted to be a day trader.
Mhm.
And I have a story I tell. Well, I'll tell the famous Joe Kennedy story. Supposedly he was walking to work one day, and this is in 1929 when the market was right at its top before it collapsed, and he got his shoe shined, and the shoe shine boy started giving him stock tips. So he went to work and he sold everything and he shorted everything, and the market crashed, and the rest is history. There's the Kennedy dynasty kind of started there. But the point is when people who don't typically buy stocks, like shoe shine boys, are buying stocks, what does it tell you? It's the end of the food chain, right?
Yep.
There's no one left behind them to push the price higher. And the reason why I brought this up is because right at when the market was peaking, back in December of 21, I had a plumber here because I had a leaky pipe, and he was a young guy, he was like 30, and he saw my screens, and we started talking, and he told me that two of his friends had left their jobs to go become full-time day traders. Right, one of them was a plumber, and one of them was an HVAC guy. And he's like, "Do you think I should do it? They want me to do it." I'm like, "Dude, it's like the world's always going to need plumbers, man. Bubbles
Yep.
blow up," and that was right at the very top. So I have a story similar to the Joseph Kennedy story. Do you know Joe Kennedy was the first head of the SEC?
I did not know that.
Yeah, when he was what I guess the modern equivalent of what would be a hedge fund manager. They used to call them like stock operators, and they were down on the floor, and there were certain things that were legal, right? Like insider trading was legal. Companies didn't need to release their numbers, and people would get together to pool and try to push the stocks in a way, right? And at the time, it was legal. The very last legal pool that took place on Wall Street was run by Joe Kennedy, right? So then when the New Deal came in and, Roosevelt made all the changes and so forth, when they established the SEC, it's like, hey, who better to run the SEC than someone who knows all the tricks? You know what I mean?
Yep. Totally get it. Totally get it. Okay. We got a couple of minutes left here if you've got the time.
Yeah, sure.
It looked like, so there was a couple of things. I know you covered TTD. One of the folks here wants to know if you like it long term. I think you covered that chart. So let me know if you have an answer there. But the chart that I wanted you to break down, if you wouldn't mind, is going to be Dollar Tree. Brandy was bringing this up. And it's interesting, Brandy, because we actually had several people last night bring up the Dollar Tree example too. That's ticker DLTR here. And I think we also had news here, right? Didn't we have Dollar General or something looking for a takeover? Let me pull that news here for you, Mark, but I'm curious to what you see here in the chart. Here, really quickly, Dollar Tree shares are trading higher following a report suggesting that Apollo Global, Sycamore, and Brigade Capital are competing to acquire Family Dollar.
Family Dollar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think is Family Dollar part? I don't know the dollar stores all that well. I can't remember if Family Dollar is part of this umbrella or if that's part of Dollar General, which is ticker DG. So I'm sorry, Dollar Tree sells Family Dollar. Yeah, it's part of this. So Family Dollar primarily sells consumable merchandise. 80% of the banner sales at a price below $10. About 2/3 of Family Dollar stores are in urban and suburban areas.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting is my daughter goes to college in upstate Connecticut, which is rural, and they got a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General on every corner. It's pretty. Although the corners are a mile apart because you're on these like country roads, but but Dollar Tree, in a lot of ways, this is kind of the mirror image to the XIII. We're at resistance below price levels that we gap through on the way down. So one of the reasons we know why we get resistance is because there's remorseful buyers trying to sell. Someone buys something at 10, it goes to 8. They say, if it gets back to 10, I'm going to sell, right? So when you gap through price levels here, you have no one who bought who's going to be trying to selling on the way back up. So it could be a situation of another gap refilling. So we had a big move here yesterday. I don't see, it looks like it's pretty quiet this morning. But yeah, so you got some pretty clear resistance right here. I would say maybe 76.50 would be where I would put the resistance, which is pretty precise. We don't really want to get that precise, but yeah, so if we start getting up to maybe 76, 77, and it looks like it's going to hold, then I think there could be some room on the upside here. Also of note on this chart is you got these higher lows forming. So you get kind of an ascending triangle pattern. Well, actually, I would say that's a pretty precise ascending triangle pattern. And these tend to be bullish because it shows that as the people that wanted to sell are willing to hang out up around here, the people that want to buy are getting more anxious and more aggressive. They're coming into the market at higher prices. So we call that higher lows. And so that tends to be a bullish setup. So I think if the market holds up and S&P, ends up taking out that 610 level, there's probably something to do on the upside here.
Yeah, and on top of that, we've got one of the subsidiaries here looking like it wants to get bought out by several other firms. Plus, if the consumer continues to tighten, perhaps you could make an argument that they would shift some of their spending more to dollar stores, which should be positive for these stocks. So you got a number of things here in the setup. Really good stuff. Okay, did you have anything else that you wanted to do real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
And if people have questions, feel free. So I think what you really want to watch for the market here is this sector ETF, XLK, and it's just really bumping up against this pretty well-defined resistance level. So I think what happens here is going to give you insight into what's going to go on in the S&P. Whether we sold off yesterday, but by the close, it kind of came all the way back. So if this resistance starts to get taken out, that'll set the stage for another leg up in the S&P.
Okay.
And if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Let's see. I think we covered them here real quick. Yeah. Ask Mark to talk about Dollar Tree. That's what we did. We took a look at the chart. Did you like TTD long term? Maybe you answered that. I didn't catch it. If you did.
Can I plug? Oh, actually, can I plug my newsletter now?
Oh, absolutely.
I forgot to last week.
Yeah, please do.
It's markpetrino.cmt.substack.com. And you know what? I don't know about the trade desk. I don't really do fundamentals and long-term stuff, so I just wouldn't feel comfortable giving an answer on that. My background is in trading. So that would be more of a question for a fundamental person. But you know what? You can look at the stuff we talked about. How are their margins doing? Are the margins increasing? That could be long-term bullish. Is the well, I guess that's not the type of place that would have an inventory. But are their earnings getting better? Are their margins getting better? And if things are getting better, then I would say, yeah, it's probably a good long-term play. So those are the things I would look at. Does the company pay a dividend, or have they declared a dividend, or have they increased their dividend? That's always a really good sign as well.
Okay. Well, then here, I'll change it up on you. I got one more chart for us to take a look at here real quick. Question from the chat here. Ticker MELI, MELI, Mercado Libre. They actually reported earnings last night. They're trading higher after Bank of America and Barclays raised their respective price targets on the stock.
Oh, wow. So this is today's trading here, Friday.
Yes, sir. So this is a pop on earnings.
Yeah, this is a little bit hard to decipher unless you have access to the times and sales. But yeah, so this thing got jacked up to 2,400 this morning, and look at where it's trading. It's right back down. So I don't know if this was like an erroneous trade, or let's see if we can see that.
No, I think that's just the way if you look inside at the 1 minute chart, it's still holding there 2372. It's just the way the candle's drawn looks a little funky there. So this did pop, and it's holding higher here into the pre-market. They reported earnings last night.
Where is it trading at?
2372, the top end of that.
Okay. 2372. So yeah, so this is some kind of strange pre-market action here. But I think the obvious level here to watch would be right around here, like 2130. So I think what's kind of key to do here is if there's going to be sometimes when a company reports earnings, it takes a while for the street to digest it. And if things weren't as good as they originally seemed, or they were as good, and there's going to be a break in the trend, it usually happens around mid-morning, like 10:30, maybe
Mhm.
11 o'clock. So if this thing starts to trend lower around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, there's a good chance that it keeps going lower into the close. And my target would be down here. If the numbers are really good and the move is justified, then the stock will probably stay close to where it opened over the course of the day, or it might start to even move higher around that mid-morning thing. And I think that happens because the research people need to go through all the numbers, and they're at their like 9 o'clock research meetings. And by the time they make a decision of what to do, it's like 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So that's just something to keep an eye on there.
Okay. Real good stuff here. By the way, Mercado Libre 1261 EPS beat the 789 estimate. Big beat there.
Wow.
And the sales 6.06 billion. That beat the estimate, or beat by 120 million. They also said that this is rallying as sales surge 37%. So real quickly here, one of the questions that we got here was, will it get to 2,500? Mark, I actually think you did a great job of answering that with the time frame, right? If this thing holds and doesn't look like it's trying to break down, I think, what did you say, 10:30 to 11:30-ish?
Yeah,
right there,
usually like
mid-morning?
mid-morning is when the trend will start to form.
Okay, so Kumo, let me answer, because I don't think Mark's going to tell you yes or no. He's not going to advise you on that. But what I would say here is that, just given what he was saying, these earnings, it's holding the pop here, right? It's holding up 13.6%. If this doesn't really kind of show a change or kind of a regression back to the mean by mid-morning, maybe your $2,500 price target is possible there. That's only another 102 points from where we're at. Stock's up 287 this morning.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I would concur with that.
okay. All right, sweet, Mark. Really awesome stuff yet again here on Friday. I tell you what, you're really helping us end the week with a bang. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, hey, yeah, anytime, and I would do more if you think it makes sense too.
Okay, absolutely. We will
Oh
definitely.
wait, did I promote my website? Yes, I did.
I believe it was markpetrinocmt.com/Substack.
Substack.com.
Boom, got it. See, I'm going to have it remembered. I'm going to be able to do it for you here pretty soon. That's how this is going to work. All right, Mark, have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.
Okay,
that is
thanks
Mark
a lot,
Petrino,
everyone. Have a good
folks.
day.
All right, really good stuff from Mark. As always, we're lucky that he comes on here and shares all of his expertise with us. Really good stuff. His departure leaves room for 13. Let's see what 13 is up to here today. Happy Friday, 13. How you doing?
Well, I'm just trying to stay warm. We've been having a little bit of a cold front come through here over the past couple of days, getting down into the 20s. So, and I'm just glad that I got over this cold when I did, because I don't want to end up looking like Andy Reid in Buffalo.
Okay. Makes
what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about here, but I was trying to do something. Now I've gone ahead and screwed it up here. Let me see. How do I do? Here we go. This is the smallest violin in the world that I'm playing for you right now for your 20-degree temperature. As I did a 3-mile run earlier this week in 8 degrees and was out there when it was 3 earlier this week. It's 12 here today. I got no complaints. So I'm with you there. I hope you are able to stay warm. Let's use the market to try and keep us warm here. You want to start with some movers? Is there anything that you are taking a look at?
Well, if we want to turn up the heat, we could probably start with some movers, some of the smaller names, or we could dive right into Celsius. Which is, okay. Yeah, I know, guys. I know. I'm out here in Texas.
No, we're having fun. Look, it's a fun Friday. We do this all the time. Let's start with Celsius. I did talk a little bit about this earlier. I'd love to hear what kind of levels you have for this. I kind of looked at the chart and gave a scenario for if we break down or if we trade up, but I'd love to hear what you think here on Celsius. So really quickly, I'm just going to repeat the news here for those of you that might be joining a little bit late here today. Celsius holding stock surges on Q4 earnings beat and an Alani new acquisition. They're also presenting at a conference this morning. This stock's up 35%. There's a possibility of them introducing a new product. The company's got incredible short interest at 20.5% with 5+ days to cover. So you have a potential squeeze possibility happening here. So 13, what are you seeing here in the chart with CELH in the back of that earnings and acquisition?
Yeah, so as I was looking at the news, it seems like that acquisition news came first, so they could, let all the selling kind of shake out, and then they dumped the earnings on us, and it was like, oh, this company's actually doing really good. Well, let's go ahead and buy it right back. So this 181 million share float, which is a little heavy, is moving up now, and we're approaching one of the more important levels. Now, I don't know if we actually hit that in the pre-market, but you can probably tell me because I'm looking at the daily chart at the moment. But one area of interest is going to be 3620.
We did not hit that. We actually stopped at 36 on the dot. So, excuse me, we did not print that yet today.
I like 3620. I like 40 even, and then I like the 200-day SMA, which is currently at 41.59. Those would be, some technical upside targets. Now, there's no guarantee we can get up there. If you look at the RSI, we are pretty extended on that after coming off this bottom earlier this month. But a couple of other things that are interesting about this. So the acquisition of the company that they're acquiring, this is a fast-growing female-focused brand, and I thought that was interesting because Nike's trying to also pivot in that direction too. So it seems like that could be an emerging theme going into 2025. Is that more of these consumer brands may be more female-focused in their approach to markets this year. So just just something to think about. But also, what was interesting is that I was reading into Celsius, and apparently Pepsi has an 8.5% stake in the company. So I took a look at Pepsi. They're also looking like they're trying to turn around because they recently put in a double bottom. So seems like there could be another trade here as well. Now we are coming up to the 50-day SMA in Pepsi. So we've been rejected there once. That was last month at the end, January 27th. Came back in, double bottomed, and now we're moving back up through the 20-day SMA and testing the 50. So I'm interested to see if we actually end up getting through that 50 and recapture 150 and move up back upwards after we've experienced some of the selling here. So that's something that I noticed that was pretty interesting about Celsius. Company has got lots of cash. So I don't think they're not going to do any offerings or anything like that. I think they're too much of a real business to be doing that at this point. But the acquisition was really interesting. I think it was a really good move, and they expect to see. I think it was something like $2 billion in sales increase for Celsius. So we'll see if that materializes. But this is looking pretty good. I just so I gave you some levels there, but I thought that all the different parts about what's going on with their earnings and their acquisition, and the fact that Pepsi has a stake in the company is all really interesting news, and bears with watching, especially with Pepsi.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm actually really glad you tied this to Pepsi. That's something I hadn't thought of. So let me keep walking that forward here real quick. Number one, just to kind of highlight something that Mark just talked about 5 minutes ago, is that when a stock goes to like a certain range or it starts to get compressed, it doesn't like to stay there for very long. It's often going to make a move. Well, we kind of had that drawn here on the Pepsi chart, right? We kind of had this triangle where the price was really starting to compress into that. And you'll notice that when we actually broke out of that, we got this pretty outsized move to the downside. So again, just to kind of steelman something that Mark was just talking about in terms of price movement, we're seeing that here on a larger time frame on a completely different and unrelated stock, just to show you that phenomenon is always at work here. You did a really good job pointing out the double bottom here. The other thing about Pepsi is that their international exposure is really, really good. And so the only reason that I'm bringing that up is because I noticed, here's the article that we had from Celsius earlier. Total revenue was down 4% on a year-over-year basis as North American revenue fell 6%. However, international revenue was up 39% year-over-year, and Celsius retail sales increased 2% year-over-year. And category market share came in at 10.9% down. So Celsius bucking one of those trends there. One of the other things that we've kind of been talking about a lot recently as it pertains to some of these energy drinks and really kind of foods with additives in them is the American consumer going to kind of arc away from this, especially given the new administration and some of the focus on health and all of that? It's interesting that this other international angle that is still growing at a tremendous rate is a big part of their business there. That actually leads me to believe, we'll see if this is what materializes here for Celsius, but that leads me to believe that the concern about the American consumer being less interested in some of these drinks might be a little bit overblown, and there might still be some runway here on this trade. So just giving some knee-jerk reactions to some of the things that you were talking about there, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trader bringing up that Pepsi bought 8% of Celsius a while ago. I think it was back in 2022 when they did that. And I don't remember the exact share price, but I believe the dollar amount, the aggregate dollar amount was like 500 million. So I think that, I mean, you can double check that, but it should have been 2022 when they picked up that stake.
Okay. Okay. You guys are also mentioning that Hims is, quote, crashing, end quote. This has been one of the high flyers recently that our group has been on here. Boy, oh boy, this thing is down 17% here. Hims and Her Health shares are trading lower after the company announced it acquired U.S.-based peptide facility. Oh my gosh. Okay, so a couple of things here with this one. We also have earnings in 3 days, if that doesn't, make it even more complicated here. I didn't see this news. This news is 14 minutes old, it looks like. So I'm just kind of reacting to this. Financial terms not disclosed. A lot of the times, I think, Mike, this is what you were talking about here real quick. Let me see if I can find that comment here. Usually here, Mike, you let me know if this is what you were referring to, this Hims downdraft here, down almost 19% now. Wow. Usually the company acquiring another dips instead of rising. So Mike, I know we talked about Celsius buying Alana New. Is that what you were referring to, or were you referring to Hims and Her Health here buying the peptide facility? So first of all, one of the things that we were talking about is that peptides might actually be a theme here in 2025. I'm not at all surprised to see this PR here. I guess I'm surprised a little bit at the down move that it's making, but I maybe not. I mean, this has been on such a tremendous run. It has been completely overbought for a while now. Really could have used a break and a breather, and it looks like now maybe buying another company, or another facility here might be that catalyst that kind of kicks that off. What do you make of this at all? And I know that this is fresh and you might not have prepared for this, so totally fine.
It's kind of funny to me that we were just talking about Celsius and they made their news about the acquisition ahead of their earnings. Seems like this is a page out of the playbook, only they're not doing it on the same day. So what's interesting is that you have the announcement of that they're buying this facility on Friday. So maybe the stock gets hammered today, and then they're going to announce earnings on Monday after the market closes. Maybe the stock runs after that. So this could be a potential opportunity. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know the financial terms of it, but I'm sure they may disclose that in the earnings conference call. So that'd be something to watch for. I mean, it's just it seems like it's almost the exact same playbook that Celsius does. To make the acquisition news, have earnings to soften the blow.
Okay.
But don't know if that's what the whole situation is here. I will say that Hims does have a very high short interest. 30% of the float is shorted with 5.24 days to cover. Maybe if those earnings are really good, this thing could squeeze and you might see it pop back up above that trend line again.
I almost wonder if people would add to their short position given this move down here, down 19% now on Hims. We're going to let this one shake out. Okay, do you want to cover some movers here?
Sure. Let's go over the garbage.
Well said here. Okay, first one is going to be, I know that you folks were mentioning this, or several of you had mentioned this in the chat. It is going to be MLGO. This is without a doubt going to be our biggest gapper here today, up 180% here in the pre-market. You guys were saying that there was no news here. I don't see any here, right? The last piece of news I have was from Monday, January 27th. It was a Form DEF 14A. So I don't know what's going on here. I have not checked Twitter streets to see what might be affecting this. Maybe it's just kind of a room pump or something like that. MLGO, though, 180+% here. This actually started ramping yesterday in the after hours. Buy the dippers came in this morning. We printed a high here of 435. We've come right back into the VWAP. So we're currently sitting at the VWAP. Which is good ahead of the open here. Quick look around the horn. Short interest, 11+% of the float shorted here with 1 day to cover. So some short interest there, but maybe not squeezy. 9.82 million shares in the float, right in the butter zone. 13, you have any thoughts on this? on this one, though?
Jonathan just beat me to it. I think it's running with quantum because ever since Microsoft's quantum chip announcement, we've seen some of those quantum names start to come back. And regarding our conversation yesterday in Happy Hour, we were talking about how some of the more wealthy Chinese are trying to get their money and out of China and into American markets. So we've been seeing a lot of these China names, kind of rise lately. I can't, imagine that anything else other than this is just another pump to a name that's in a space in a theme that's doing really well right now. In order to drive the price up, get that money out, and move it somewhere else. There's the Chinese nationals. They do not want to own their stocks right now. So I think this is getting pumped up along with the Microsoft quantum news. I believe this is a very, very high risk trade. So if you decide you don't want to take it, I would 100% agree that that's probably in your best interest. I don't even know if this company has the cash they say they have because they don't report very often. I don't see any kind of read on their I say this when I look at their quarterly reports. I should look at the annual, but they have earnings in 11 days. The float's 9.82 million shares, so this is going to move. I would just, take this as a very, very cautious approach to trading a high risk stock. Just be very, very careful if you're going to do this, because I think this could absolutely wipe out a lot of people if they get into this at the wrong time. So this may be something that could make you a lot of money, or it could take everything that you're trading. So be careful with this one, as well as some of these other ones that we're going to be talking about here. And they're China pumps, essentially. Be very careful.
Okay, real good stuff there. A couple of things with micro algo here. Jaywalker saying, I wouldn't trade this in the regular hours. We actually seen some of these stocks seem to put their movement in the pre-market, and then in the regular session, it just trades like garbage. So that's definitely something to watch here, especially with some of these China pumps that really don't have news. I really think that probably the best way to maybe even trade this is to just really have tight stops. Think about your downside first. If you get flushed out of a stock like this because it moves back down, but then it starts to curl and set up, and we just talked about triggers with Mark. If it shows you another trigger, you can always rebuy it here. But I think just given the environment that we're in, I think we really want to err on the side of caution at this point, especially if you're trading some of these here. Okay, Sideshow here saying, fell victim to MLGO in my early days. Be very careful.
Yep. So, and somebody was mentioning that they do have some short interest. My last read here is a little more than 11%, but because of how small the float is, they only need a day to cover. So you could see that short covering happen real fast and not even know that was part of whether it was part of this move or not. So again, be very, very careful. This thing could go to 300, 500%. Maybe if it does, we'll try and trade the setups, but just understand the risk involved with this one. This could move down to the downside very, very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Really good stuff there, 13. Really good stuff in MLGO. Next on the list here I have is ticker NAAS, November Alpha Sierra. At NAS Technology shares are trading higher after the company announced a $10 million share repurchase program that's effective starting today, February 21st, and lasts through February of 2026. So you're getting a $10 million let me make sure I read that correctly. $10 million share repurchase program. Really quickly here, the market cap is $19 million. So that share repurchase is about half the size of the cap going into today. Stock was $1.40 at the close yesterday. We did print as high as $2.80, so this was a 100% runner earlier. Currently sitting here at 57%. Looks like we put in a pre-market support level here. I'd call this, 210? Looks like a previous resistance area that has now turned support. Looks like we're turning back up here towards the VWAP. We'll see if we end up getting that. Another quick look around the horn here, 6.83% of the float shorted with 2.32 days to cover. Stock has a float of 4.616 million shares. On average, the stock trades 143,000 shares. This morning, we've already traded 43 plus million. So way over that. We've completely rotated the float a number of times over. 13, what do you have on this one? I know you had said, careful with some of these pumping ups. What do you think here, NAAS?
I think this is another very, very dangerous stock to trade. The balance sheet on this one looks terrible. So they've got a lot of debt, and so I'm kind of wondering, okay, well, this share repurchase program, how is this going to unfold over the next year when they plan to finally wrap that up? They said from February to February of 2026. You might see that's going to be the thing that I would want to watch for if I was going to trade this throughout the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Is watch where the levels start to or where it starts to rebound from, because I don't know that anybody's really going to be buying this when it goes down, except for maybe the company itself. So throughout the year, you're going to see probably some movement where this thing starts to rise out of nowhere, maybe even on no news, and we could probably pin that as part of their share repurchase.
Okay.
You have pretty clear levels to the upside, and it looks like we may get a silver cross on the daily if the price doesn't come back beneath the 50-day SMA. But for now, it's going to be the same thing with MLGO. Low float, don't have a really good read on their finances, and as a matter of fact, their balance sheet doesn't look great at all. Lots of debt, and we just have this one piece of news that they're going to be buying their stock intermittently throughout this year into the beginning of next year.
Yeah, and I think they said starting today, this buyback, this repurchase program, I'm trying to use the same words that they did, is effective starting today. So today's day one of that. And I think that's probably leading into some of the exuberance here. Okay, really quick, we already covered CELH. I'm sure we'll look at that again. Hollow here, this popped yesterday. Was this also moving on the quantum stuff? Maybe looks like that. Let's see. Thursday, 8 a.m. We did have a PR yesterday morning regarding detection of quantum phase transition.
Quantum's still moving this.
Yeah. So this did move. This actually, I guess, kind of made like a double bottom around $1 yesterday in the regular hours, and then traded up to $1.30. We're going higher here today. We've all seen Hollow quite a bit here. I don't know how much more we really need to cover this 13. We've talked about this a lot. If you have any thoughts on here, great. Otherwise, I do want to move on to these next couple here that are moving. And I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would say about Hollow is that this is typically a pump and dump. They have not had a short interest this high since May or June of last year. So getting back into the heavily shorted realm. Other than that, just be very careful with this one, because it's starting to put in some bearish price action going into the open here.
Hollow YOLO Jolo. Okay, next here is going to be lottery.com. This is ticker LTRY. I know several of you were trading this yesterday. Good stuff on the movement here yesterday. We did have a move in the after hours as well on lottery. And then we had kind of an interesting pre-market here today. So remember, yesterday we got several PRs in the morning. The charge for sports.com at a prestigious Soccer X kickoff in Cairo, Egypt. Lottery.com conducted its annual shareholders meeting from Mar-a-Lago. How about that? Followed by an exclusive VIP investor luncheon. That was stuff that we got throughout the course of the day. Then in the after hours, Lottery.com announces positive results from its annual shareholder meeting. So it looks like we had kind of a busy day yesterday for this stock. The chart reflects the same thing. We're holding higher here today by 16.4%. We're right beneath the VWAP. We do have some levels up here around $2 and then maybe even 210 and 220. I want to extend this here to 220. What do you see in this one? Ticker LTRY. Again, really quickly here, short interest fairly negligible at 2.3%, and a float here just over our butter zone, 11.6 million.
Yeah, didn't really look into this one. I know that this is something we've been trading before. It's been moving, since the beginning of this month. So I'm just going to draw on some of the technical levels here. And the one that really stands out to me is 125. You could draw a line there, even look to the left and see that that's been that was a support level before last year started. And then we lost that level about halfway through the year, and haven't been able to recapture it until just recently. So if I was going to expect more upside out of this, I'd want to see 125 hold up. We see that hold up, we're going to get a golden cross, and that could lead to more upside. Now, we'll say that we do have the RSI. It's not over, it's too extended to where it's overbought, but we're in the 60s, so it's kind of getting back up there. Also, the MACD is indicating that this looks like it could go lower. We haven't had a crossing yet, but that 125 level, as long as we hold that, I think there's still a good chance that this might move higher. On the note of the Mar-a-Lago thing, I don't know that I would necessarily tie this together with Trump quite yet, but
Agreed.
Maybe just, whenever he comes on, whenever he starts tweeting or posting on Truth Social, maybe just take a look and see what this does at that time, and then you can try and draw your own conclusion that way.
Okay. Really good stuff there, LTRY. The 125 level that you outlined here, spot on. This has recently been really good support. February 10 and 11, and then again here, February 19th. That was Wednesday of this week. Okay, SLRN. This one, I know we're running out of time here, folks. I'm just going to go real quickly here. Trading higher after the company confirmed receipt of an unsolicited indication of intent of interest from another bioscience company. The stock trading higher here. 260 was the high. VMAR, this got mentioned by someone else in the chat. They also have a share repurchase program going on here. So this did pop. Some of these smaller guys are popping here. That's about all we got. STAI, I saw several of you talking about that. This had a big move yesterday. Looks like it's curling up here today. We'll follow the technicals and see if we can find a trade there. Let me flip over to my main workspace. We'll get ready here for the day.
And then we'll have a great weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait to have a great Friday here and then go off into the weekend. Take a look here. NAAS right here at the VWAP. This one's going to be interesting. Okay, we're open, folks. Let's go.
All right. So MLGO, what are you doing out of the gate? Coming down to the 65 EMA, trying to get support. We'll see if it does. Looks like, let's take a look at Rigetti here. That's trying to move up out of the open. Let me put some of these other ones on here as well. Now, remember, Celsius does have that 181 million share float, so that's going to be a little bit heavier than these other movers that we were talking about. So it's perfectly normal to expect that this might trade a little bit more difficult. Like it might start to move down before we start to see a push back up. And here we go. Now it's starting to sell off. So we'll see if it gets some support. I would say if Celsius continues to go lower here, there's going to be support about 33, and beneath that, I would say 32.20 before we hit the 200 EMA on the 5-minute.
Okay, here we come to that 33 level. Let's see if that one is buyable. Got some poll results here for you.
All right.
What direction do you think the SPY breaks next? And remember, this comes from the daily chart that shows a sideways pattern pretty much all the way back to the election, if you want to go that far back. What direction do you think it breaks next? Break up wins this here with 37% trade, continuing to trade sideways, comes in second at 23%. Break down comes in third at 22%, and our not sure crowd in there at 16%. So it looks like the majority here breaking up, but that is a pretty good distribution amongst those choices. So no clear consensus there. I guess the breakup is pretty clear, but it's not a huge margin, I guess I should say. CELH at that $30 test level here.
Yeah, we do have
SRH spiking here. Sorry to interrupt. The producer had this on the screen here. I know several of you have been trading this one. This is ripping out of the gate here. Good stuff for you folks that are in it. Sorry, 13, get back in there.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, I just got moving this on my screen here. Yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, man. I'm the worst.
No worries.
UNH here. Someone had asked earlier, was it Mark? Maybe I can't remember. I'm trying to find the comment. I'm trying to cite you. It was Michael. I beg your pardon. Any chance of a bounce in UNH here? So yeah, first of all, it's definitely already bouncing now. I think there's a chance that all of these health stocks that were bouncing, we covered some of them at the beginning, Humana, the other one, CNC. I think it was CNC. Let me see here. Yep. CNC. I think all of these could bounce. Looks like you're starting to get that already. Sorry, get in there.
Yeah, 13. A lot of these quantum names that we were just talking about. This could be a re-emerging theme with the Microsoft news. They're seeing some of these names move up. Ionic just popped out of the gate up to 35.50. Rigetti also had a pop up to almost 12. Still holding up there. Pay attention to some of these quantum names. We might be getting some trades out of these. In the morning here, possibly even throughout the day.
INOD here. This is another one. Ryan, I know that you were asking about this one. This was one that 13 and I were both very, very early on because of the happy hour group. So we're not actually in this. INOD reporting better than expected Q4 financial results and popping here. Be honest with you, this stock can move pretty good. I would not say that's out of the question for this to test 70 here today. Again, no position, very easy for me to make a call with no money behind it, but we've seen this thing move before. I've been following this for quite a while here. I don't think 70 is out of the question here. If I were looking at this for like a investment, like if I like this long term, I would definitely want to wait out some type of pullback here, at minimum, probably to this 50 handle. So I do not advise chasing here on INOD, despite liking the company and despite making money on this stock previously.
Wow, it's crazy how much their revenue has grown.
It sure recently has. Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like that was that long ago. We were just talking about as soon as it hits, $30 million in revenue for a quarter, that's when it's going to start taking off. Sure enough, it did. But wow, they're talking, 52 million a quarter now, looking for 60 plus. That's just crazy. That's just a big year-over-year turnaround for this company.
And you know what, 13? I mean, this is we talked about this as a group for a while, and we actually got some of the movement that we were looking for, and we're feeling all happy about our gains here. But the story still continued to play out. Stock continued to go higher here, so a really good lesson there, keeping a trailer on.
Celsius halted to the downside. 31.02 is the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. That's the next support there at level I see. But yeah, all these things we just kind of needed to wait and just let them shake out a little bit, and then we can see if they'll go higher. So far, NAAS, the only one really pushing up higher right now.
By the way, speaking of that, so I'm glad that you just mentioned that there, 13, because I'm looking here at my scanner, and NAAS, clearly the relative volume leader here today. Percent relative volume, 36,722% of the relative volume traded. To me, it's no surprise to see that this one is still having some fireworks. The next closest one here is going to be UPC. That's traded just over 2,000% of its relative volume. This is a 30-cent penny stock, but also at the high there. So it's one of the reasons why we use these things here. INOD, by the way, approaching its average volume already. The market's been open for 5 minutes. The stock is already almost at its average volume. I do really think this could hit 70s.
I was just going to mention an upper shadow alert on NAAS. It just knifed. So that one's back through VWAP. That's why this is exactly what we were talking about with these pump and dumps. Now micro algo is getting ready to go. So we might see some a push up here up through, it's above my VWAP right now. This one is looking to try and get through all this pre-market consolidation. Don't know if we're going to end up seeing that, but it could just be a sudden rapid move that we get right through it, or we're just going to continue to get rejected and trade lower. Like I said, don't know what's going to happen with these movers. They just are going to get sold into, in my opinion. We're getting, on the other hand, through 12.
MLGO here, really good stuff there, 13. This is compressing here. Looks like between 310, which is going to be your 15 EMA on the 1-minute chart, as well as 3. It really, that 10-cent range, I think, is going to tell us what the next direction is here. So I would watch 310 and 3. Break down through 3. We probably go lower. Here we go. Let's see. And then if we go back up to the top end of that range, watch that 310 level.
Yeah. So QBTS, that just popped to above the pre-market high of 785. Ionic, that was, I already mentioned that one. That went up to 35.50. So brief pop on a lot of these quantum names. They're all starting to come back in right now.
Sorry to interrupt here. MLGO just took out that 310. It's trying to go. Let's see if it goes. Bang. All right. Let's see. VWAP here at 322. That's going to be your next spot. I got 318. And right through here, MLGO continuing. Boy, oh boy. That was a really good spot by you, 13. That it was really, you had to be fast. It's already back down. And below 3. Oh my God. Okay. You got to be fast on some of these movers.
Or don't even touch them.
That was what, no trade here for me. My hands are clean. This is really sinking now. Wow, MLGO. You know what? I'm going to give you a 1-up because since we took a look at this here this morning, since you were talking about this being a China pump, you actually gave some background there on what they're trying to do. Your outlook here on this was be careful from the beginning, and here you go. So you're going to get a 1-up there on that one.
Thank you. OSRH is now about to halt to the upside.
There we go. OSRH 562 going to be your haul price. By the way, market
Halted.
pulling here. SPY down 609.
All right. So as far as the SPY goes, since we have some time to catch our breath from all this wild price action here,
Tesla at the lows, Amazon at the lows, Bitcoin at the lows.
I remember this that trend line I told you about that we broke over in order to make the current all-time high in SPY. So that trend line, which is kind of where we were having this bull flag form, that's going to be the level that I'm going to be watching for if we start to close underneath. If we close underneath this trend line, I think that's going to be my indicator that the market's finally going to start to come in. I still believe that there could be new all-time highs before that happens, but it wouldn't surprise me if we just started to sell off as early as today. Next week is going to be a very, very important week for the market with NVIDIA earnings and SMCI earnings and their NASDAQ recompliance. That could create a liquidity event to sell into. So just be careful with next week, because it should be a wild one.
Perfect segue here. Here's what the earnings calendar looks like for next week, and 13 is exactly right. This is going to start on Monday, right after the close here on Monday. We've got some smaller companies here, Trip.com. I know we just saw Booking.com go. Diamondback Energy, I'm interested in. Zoom might be fairly interesting. And then the very next morning, we're going to have Home Depot. In the evening, we're going to have Workdays. There's a big, big week. NVIDIA is the one on Wednesday. That's probably the biggest one here. Not probably. That is the biggest one here. Also, Salesforce on Wednesday. So we'll keep checking in on your earnings calendar. But 13, you're exactly right. Next week, going to be busy.
I also think that we're going to maybe see, and I know I've been saying that, if we're going to see a sell-off in the market, we're going to want to not necessarily be in those names that were big movers last year, like the nuclear, the quantums, the drones, the space. I still think that's something that we should, prepare for. We may not want to be holding those if the market really starts to sell off. However, I think most of those, especially the space stocks, are going to be really, really good following a sell-off. Because of all the different things that are happening with space this year. One thing that's happening next week is Lunar has another launch that's actually being performed by SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. That's supposed to be on February 26th, provided there's no hangups. So they're going to launch their next lander that's going to go to the moon. Hopefully it stays upright this time.
Hopefully it doesn't tip over.
And hopefully it doesn't tip over. And they expect that they'll make a contact with the surface of the moon on March 6th or 7th. I'm sorry, 5th or 6th. 5th or 6th. Okay. When they anticipate that. So and there's a Nokia angle to that as well, because they're providing the 4G communications systems for all the different rovers and other instruments that are going to be attached to this. This lander. I posted a video in the happy hour chat, so you can view it and see all the different things that are going on with this. Really interesting stuff. Definitely worth watching to see if we get some movement. Also, SpaceX is supposed to. Well, I say they're supposed to. There's been no official announcement, but they are expected to do their next Starship flight test next week as well. I think the earliest I heard was the 24th of February.
Okay, I threw that link in the chat for everyone here. By the way, CELH, this Celsius here, this did open after that halt, went lower, bounced off of 30, trying to bounce here. Can't necessarily say the same for MLGO. It looked like it was trying to bounce, but this actually might roll over. I still think I'm in 13's camp here of being careful with this one. I do want to run through a couple of these other movers. Buru, this was the penny stock that was moving here. This actually took the next leg up.
Oh, and Buru?
Peru, NAAS, this broke down here and is actually trying to recapture a previous pre-market support. So that would be one of the levels of interest here. That OMGA, that's a 20-cent penny stock. I'm going to skip that. INOD here, look at this. This continuing to go higher. I did say 70 is possible here today. Looks like INOD on the move towards 70. MLGO rolling over even more here now. Careful with that. Lottery, this just took out its VWAP to the upside. Applied Digital, APLD, this is a big move here right out of the open. Congrats to anyone that's in this one as well. Wow, a lot of stuff here this morning. Good morning. MLGO, that might be toast for right now.
I see support coming in for MLGO potentially as early as 245. There's a 200 EMA on the 5 minute that's going to be at 238, 239. So right around that 240 area, we'll just generalize. That could be where you start to see support for MLGO. But remember, this thing could make you think that that's where it's going to bounce, and then just say, "Hot, no, we're going to take you out too." So just be careful with MLGO.
CELH, this bounce here, trying to test the VWAP. This right here, if we can cross that VWAP, maybe we do have some more upside. VWAP here, 3280 is what I've got here on TradingView. We're 8 cents away. Watch this CELH for what it does around VWAP. OSRH getting mentioned by a number of folks in the chat here. This taking its other leg up. So we had an impulse move, consolidation, build above VWAP, bang, another move higher here. OSRH.
This is out of the halt.
Out of the halt.
Yep. Let's see here. So Celsius is halted to the upside as well. NAAS just
right at its VWAP too. Look at that on Celsius. I'm not in this one. I want to see what happens at the VWAP, but I could be interested in that.
Rigetti, I'm not sure if we're going to see a break to the upside or not. It is starting to put in some upper shadows here, so we could see a bit of rollover, but it is holding above the VWAP, so we could still push higher in this one.
ELF, someone mentioned ELF earlier here today. This is trading up out of the gate, and I've actually noticed some option flow here. So I've seen several transactions here for ELF already. So maybe we have some more area up here on ELF. We do have, if we can get above 77 and change, got a potential gap fill up to 88. So that's something to watch from the daily chart there. Ticker ELF.
Yeah, and INOD spiked up to $72 yesterday on their earnings. I believe that's what that was, right? They had earnings yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'd be a target for today. It's making its way there right now. There's no other levels in front of it, between here and that 72 after hours high. So could see 72, maybe even higher.
I wanted to see 70 first, but 13, it sure looks like this is going to have the strength to do 70. I think if we do take that, I think 72 is the next logical level there. With you on that. Chris says, ELF, Santa's coming. I love Christmas too, man, but we are 10 months away. So Santa's gonna have a break for a little bit. Wonder if he plays golf.
So Rigetti did go higher. Printing in the 1230s right now. This looks like it could reach 1248 before you maybe see it start to turn around. The 1248, that area was the pre-market high yesterday. Hit it twice in the pre-market. Wouldn't be surprised if we end up hitting it, maybe even punching through it before we start seeing selling.
MLGO here trying to curl. Be careful with this one. Producer really trying to put the pressure on us here. Hit the like if you want to see Ryan or 13 do trading pit hand signals to describe their positions. Tell you what, producer, I've never really done that, so I'm actually going to have to look that up, and I would be nervous about making the wrong gesture or the gesture to sell when I'm actually buying. But LOL.
Quantum really getting a good push today. Look at all these quantum names. They're not doing too bad at all. I mean, look at QBTS, that's over 8 now. You got Rigetti, that's pushing. We already just talked about that one. Ionic hasn't quite pushed over that 3550 level, but keep an eye on it. Maybe it will. I mean, the MACD is indicating that it still has a shot, but you want to see that happen pretty soon. And then, of course, we've got these China pump names, MLGO and AAS, that are still trying to make something happen.
You've got news across the board here on some of these quantum names, right? So IONQ here announces innovations in compact temperature quantum computing through novel extreme high vacuum. We had another one here on Rigetti. Real quick, we had some more news here. Rigetti price target raised to 14 from 250 at benchmark. Benchmark maintains their buy, by the way. But also, we actually had a news story here earlier. We ran out of time because we went to Mark. This wasn't one of the pressing news stories, but here we are. Quantum computing stocks resumed their rally after a steep year-to-date decline following Microsoft's Majora 1 launch. This goes into showing how some of these big folks actually own a lot of these quantum names. BlackRock, Vanguard, some of these huge firms have really, really huge positions in this. Not at all surprised to see this move in here. I'll go ahead and throw this article in the chart too for anyone else that's interested in this. Sorry, we didn't have time to cover that here this morning.
Yeah, it looks like sellers are trying to leave positions just above 3. That's kind of where the consolidation was from the most of it from the pre-market and MLGO, trying to take out some of those sellers and push higher. Pre-market high I have for MLGO is 435. Just be careful with this one, folks.
Yep, we already saw what this thing did the first time around. I hope nobody got hurt on that one.
Yep. And look at that. They just brought a whole bunch of sellers in right at that same area.
310 is what we got over before. I think we did pop as high as 320 before getting absolutely slammed. Be very interesting to see if we can test that. There we go. More sellers there. 315. They got eaten. Here we go. I'm going to keep saying it, though. Just be careful. We've seen how fast this can really move down. If you're trading this, don't be afraid to take your gains when you get them. Big pullback already here. MLGO. Buru, the penny stock. I guess this is looks like this came back in a little bit. I would say this probably trade back up to the highs here. I'd watch this 48-cent level. I'm not going to trade this one. I'm going to completely avoid this penny stock. This is not anything I need to get involved with on a Friday.
As far as the SPY goes, for where we would want to see this hold up, if we're going to look at new all-time highs, it's got to hold above 608.80. I would say. I think that's where it needs to hold up for today. Or actually, I'm sorry. Let's just call it 608 even. 608. I like that. 608 in SPY. I need to hold above that. Okay, so a lot of these quantum names just came off their high pop.
NVIDIA, I see multiple repeat NVIDIA calls, seeing some Rocket Lab calls here. What was the sell-off for yesterday on Rocket Lab? That got bought back already? Let's see. I don't have any news on that one.
I think it was just extended.
Okay, just kind of regression back to the mean there. That makes sense.
So we did get a little MLG pop, almost out of that consolidation, but not quite yet. It still looks like it could go later, but watch VWAP. Make sure we aren't going beneath that. Now we are starting to pull a little bit. Now we're down to VWAP. OSRH halted to the upside again. High price after it halted was $6.66.
OSRH. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 666 your halt price there.
Yep.
CELH. Here we go. So we wanted to see what happens here at the VWAP. Might try some of this here. See if we can get above that. I don't know if I really want. You know what? We just talked with Mark about having a trigger, a setup, and a trigger. Okay, well, the setup here is a move back to the VWAP, dip bought, trigger here. If we cross this VWAP,
yeah, I think the volume really needs to come in and not come in, but like it needs to expand a lot if we're going to get through this pre-market consolidation here. Remember, this is a very large, has a heavy float, 181 million shares. It's holding above my VWAP right now, but I think we're going to need to see a really big push in volume in order to get through that consolidation that starts at about 33.10 and sort of ends at around 35.30. $36 is the after hours high from yesterday.
Okay. Trying some at 32.75. We'll see what happens here on Celsius. I don't want to have a stop necessarily at the day low. If we really kind of roll over here, we'll take a look at it. But let's see here. Celsius, let's see if we can get above that VWAP and move back towards 35-ish. I'd rather trade this than MLGO. Crow says, Ryan, it's a peach vibe and vodka kind of weekend. That's one of the Celsius flavors, right? So now you're mixing Celsius with vodka as your drink over the weekend, Crow. By the way, congrats to your Canadian boys last night. I'll switch away from this. Celsius, not one of these smaller movers. I don't really feel like I necessarily need to babysit it. We'll see what happens here on CELH. You folks are taking a look at NVIDIA here. Danger Boy. NVIDIA right at VWAP here today. This is all about next week for me on NVIDIA.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Celsius is spreading out a little bit.
Yeah, it's trying. Let's see if it's going to come back in. MLGO back at 330. This is all over the place on MLGO. Oh, big pull there in Celsius. See if it can hold 32 here. Here, let me go back to that real quick. So we couldn't get above and hold VWAP. See if we hold 32 and make another run at it.
32. That looks like that was a support area back from the after hours trading yesterday. That was so we had that impulse move, and then when it kind of went sideways, it looked at 32 as a support zone, and then we ripped up to 36 after that.
Volatile here as we're already up 50 cents off that. Let's see if we can recapture the VWAP CELH.
Going to need a big amount of volume here.
It sure is. Yeah, I'm with you on that, 13.
Yep.
With you on that one. Mike saying it's only OPEX. Is that next week you're saying? Celsius pulling here? Say it's stop here at 32.
INOD hit 70.50. Still think we may hit that 72 print.
Man, oh man.
That thing was awesome.
Yeah, that sure was. We've got some other stocks moving here. We'll see if CELH can hold on. I'm going to flip around. Got to stop set there in case this thing really starts to move. NAAS looks like taking the next leg down here, trying to find some support. We'll see if it's able to do that.
MLGO trying to make it through. You know what? There's a little bit of a trend here with MLGO. Not quite up to the trend line yet, but it seems like it would break it at about 375.
Okay.
Tell me if you see the same thing I'm seeing there.
The trend line break at 375.
There was a so I don't think I see it on yours, but when I look on my broker, there was a spike at about 805 this morning that took the price up briefly to 405, and then it came right back in. So I'm just using that as part of the trend line.
Mike says, Ryan, I'm just happy these kids are going back to school next week. I'm giddy.
Next week?
Yeah, what?
That's wild.
I don't get it. When I was in school, I had school. I had no break right now. No idea what you're talking about, Mike, but happy that it happened for you. Or sorry that it happened. MLGO here. Let's see if we can do it 350.
How are the other ones looking? All right, looks like we got a little bit of a setup happening here with CEL, so with Celsius, kind of holding above that 32, looking like it's starting to push back up. Still need to see that big move in volume.
Wait. Hang on. That's all well and good about the trading stuff. What on earth am I reading here? Midwinter recess? Midwinter recess. Winter break. It is February. It's the end of February. What do you mean midwinter recess? When I was a kid, we had to walk to school in the snow. Sometimes we'd get caught in snowbanks. Yeah, this recess nonsense. Snow days in the South. I mean, what? Things have changed since I was in school. That's what I'll say. Things have changed. They stay in school almost through June now, but have more breaks throughout the year. Okay, well, that kind of explains it then, Matt. I appreciate that. I guess that makes a little bit more sense.
Still trying to push Celsius down.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were going back here. I think I'm going to get stopped out of this, to be honest.
We'll just need that uptick in volume. Meanwhile, let's see how some of these other ones are doing. Looks like Herbalife, that mover from yesterday, trying to turn around after selling off this morning. Rigetti still trying to hold above 12. Looking like Rigetti may start to get a little weaker. Could be the same situation with a lot of these other quantum stocks. Ionic, much lower now. QBTS kind of sideways, but still above VWAP. Be careful with those quantum names. I think a lot of the morning price action might have already happened.
A couple of really good comments here. Times change, Ryan. Yeah, evidently. Rich says, yeah, it's a thing. There are kids all over my ski hills. You guys are the best. Oh, you guys are the best. I'm as old as you two dudes, but West Coast, we always do midwinter breaks since the early 90s. Midwest here, man. We just went to school. What can I say? 3D says snowflakes. West, they took 2 weeks from summer and they added it to the winter. Okay, I get it. All right, enough fun with that. Enough fun with that. We'll see where some of these quantum names go here. CELH not over yet. Not breaking down through 32.
Nope. Somebody mentioned Walmart. That's continuing to sell off. So when it hits 94.77, that's going to be a 10% move off the high, and it's going to be in an area where there could be some support. I don't know how strong that support's going to be. It is going to be beneath the 50-day SMA, so you don't want to start seeing closes underneath that if you're bullish. But there's consolidation from December of last year, pretty much from the beginning to about the middle to the later half of December, where the prices kind of went sideways for a bit. That consolidation could create a little bit of a demand zone. So if we hold above 93, it'll because buyers had stepped in and want to try to take it higher. Now, I will say that there's also a possibility of this continue to go down further, in which case if you are looking at more of a like a 20% off the high sell-off, that price is going to be 84.24.
Interesting. $90 here actually looks like the next spot. That's your 100-day, but that also coincides with the low from January of this year. That 84 level you gave just a second ago, that actually was a little bit of a, I guess I really shouldn't call this a consolidation area because we're only in here for like a week. That pretty much bisects the 100 and the 200-day. Interesting spots there, Walmart. All right, HIMS. I'm seeing a lot of reacting here to HIMS.
Arista stocks getting us prepared for the existing home sales print coming in.
Okay. I'll get ready. Here, I'll hold on. Let me hold on to my desk. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. HIMS, this is actually kind of interesting. If this can hold, I think maybe we do come back and maybe even try 60 on HIMS.
It looks like Celsius trying to push up now.
Let's hope. I'd love to not get stopped out of one. Here we go. Here is your existing home sales. January, 4.08 million versus the 4.13 million estimate. The prior read was for 4.29. So light again on existing home sales. I think those interest rates are starting to have an effect. Celsius reversing now. It is really struggling to get through that VWAP. That is definitely the key point. Walmart here trying to hold on to 95 on Walmart.
OSRH halted to the downside now. This also looks like it could be rolling over as well. Only iNod.
This chart doesn't look great. Yeah, this OSRH chart doesn't look great to me. And honestly, this Celsius, this has been rejected at the VWAP twice now.
Yeah, for me, it keeps trading alongside, above and below the VWAP, so kind of sideways on the VWAP. Still waiting to see if we can, I would like to see it get above 32.75.
Okay. Izzy here yelling, market down 400 points. That's the Dow that's down 400 points. Remember, I had mentioned earlier, the Dow is down disproportionately to the rest of the indexes because of what's going on here in UNH. By the way, quick check-in here in UNH. The move above the VWAP so far has held here. Maybe this does continue to bounce. This also affecting stocks like Humana as well. So Dow definitely the leader to the downside, down just about 1%, 0.9% here, down 400 points or so. That is more than the rest of the market. SPY down less than 0.4.
SPY reversed right at the level I mentioned. Went a little bit lower. Hit the 607.43 as a low, but that 608 level, that was where I was looking at that where the support needed to kick in. So far, it's trying to pull it back up, but we haven't closed this candle yet, so we'll have to see how this shakes out. But that 608 level, I think the buy the dippers might step in and try to lift this market up a bit here. So watch for that.
We actually have a trend line here that you can see on my chart that it corresponds to exactly the area that 13 is talking about. Stopped out of Celsius right there at 32.
Yep.
Damn it. That actually looked like that was going to go too. We'll see if Celsius sets back up. Stopped at 0 for 1 here. I'll tell you what, these last 2 weeks have not been good. I'm sorry, guys. I Fade me. I don't know what else to say. I'm really struggling. Really struggling. Here, by the way, really quickly here's the trend line. 13, I think you referenced this trend line earlier. I can't remember.
That's the one.
These are through the highs. So this is the trend line that we just bounced off of. Okay.
That's the trend line where if we start closing underneath that, I think you're going to have a better shot of the market coming in and getting your sell-off that we've been thinking is going to happen.
Or waiting for, I guess we could even say at that point. Yeah. Yep. All right, MLGO, watch 350 again. Looks like that is going. This thing has been crazy. If you made money in ML, there it goes. Right through 350. Looks like 367 was your high print there. If you made money in MLGO today, really good stuff. And if you have a position now, be sure you book some of those gains.
Yeah, 375 was that where the trend line was that I was talking about. So we either break through here, right here at 375, or we're gonna we broke through, or we're gonna get rejected. But yeah, so far it looks like we're breaking through. So next level for the upside, I would say is 405.
Yeah, no, Izzy, I know it happens to everyone. I'm going through a rough patch. It is what it is. I know if you follow traders on Twitter, they never really seem to lose. But here, we're actual traders, so we do. It's just been a rough couple of weeks. We'll shake it off, and we'll get back on the horse. It is what it is. Let's take a look here at INOD, almost at 70 already. Remember,
it already passed it.
Yeah, yes, it did. No, you're right.
Yeah, it hit 71, came back in. Remember, we were looking for that 72 print because it hit 71.99 on their earnings in the after hours. So looking for to hit that high or get close to it like it just did, and then it could either break through that or reverse and just come back in. So 72 going to be an important level. And then Celsius, that came down to, it's almost at its 200 EMA, which is going to be, for me, at 3109. Doesn't reverse here, then this is going to end up going lower. And let me see if I can find some targets for lower prints for that.
DS, so confusing with the delay, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Look, we have tried to do everything we can on our end, man. I'm really sorry you're going through that. I really am, but it has to do with your internet connection. It's different from everybody else. There's really nothing. There's no setting that we can adjust.
27 would probably be another support level for CELH. So that's it's over $4 away from where we are if we don't bounce off the 200 EMA on the 5 minute.
Okay.
NAAS also looks like it's slowing down, but I'm not excited to jump into this one yet, if at all. Micro Algo still trying to push and hold above that 375 area that I had just mentioned is the where the trend line kind of gives provides that resistance unless it can break through it. So we start closing over 375. This has a potential to go higher. MLGO.
TIGR, this is actually one that I traded last week with some success somehow. This running here out of the gate on some pretty good volume here as well. This is actually a pretty good trader. Don't see any news on this. Not really sure what's going on TIGR. I do know that there are several Discord rooms that will often mention this. See this get mentioned on FinTwit. Ryan here saying no noticeable delay for me. So this is kind of what I mean, man. There's very little that we can do. What on earth is this? There's very little that we can do. I would say refresh, make sure that your internet connection is as stable as it can be.
SPY under 608 again, but trying to recover. This is going to be if we get like a few candles where it recovers 608, it could reverse.
Yeah, my producer here.
Sorry,
13. My producer here is saying if you refresh the page right after the show starts, the delay should be minimal. He's 10 seconds behind, and he's across the pond. So, again.
Yeah, if SPY doesn't recapture that 608, we could see some more downside. And if that happens, let's see here. Yesterday's lows was pretty close to 607, so we could draw on that. But after that, then we're looking at probably 605.80, maybe 605.80, 605.90 as the next support beneath 607.
Okay. INOD backed off that $70 level.
Oh yeah, back down to my VWAP, but MACD looks like it's trying to roll over. Not nowhere near a crossing quite yet, but we don't want to see it lose VWAP.
Haven't seen anything particularly unusual with the options here today. Here's SMCI. This is relatively not crazy given what SMCI has been doing recently.
MLGO putting in some upper shadows. Let's see how this one closes, and then we'll need to pay attention to what the following candle does, the following 5-minute candle. Because if it starts to put in another upper shadow, like another long wick on the top of it, that could indicate that the sellers are starting to win this fight, and the price could come back in.
CELH trying to recapture 32. We'll see if it's able to do that. Steve O here in the chat saying MLGO will take 4. That's where it stopped earlier here today.
Yep, that was the high from the regular session. In the pre-market, we got as high as 435. Looks like there is a big wall of sellers at $4. That's getting contested right now. So do we see some of these come back? Looks like NAS is trying to make a comeback as well. Whoa, what was that?
My internet dropped. Boy, I'm having all types of issues here today. Oh
that was not my fault.
What?
That was not my fault.
No, it's none of it's your fault. It's just
no. I know you're just blaming the contagious internet issues on me yesterday.
Oh yeah, I was joking.
I know you were. I know you were joking.
But yeah, I'm not been great. Not been great. I have multiple internet issues. I actually think I might need to reset my router here today. I'll do that when the show's over. Sorry about that though.
No worries. Looks like a lot of these quantum names that we're selling off, they're trying to find some support. QBTS trying to reverse off the 65 EMA. Where are those other ones at? Looks like micro algo is holding above that trend line now, which is a good sign if you want to see this go higher. So you're above 4 print, Steve. That might be materializing here. Rigetti getting some support from the 200 EMA, just as it did in the pre-market before we opened and ripped up. So we'll see if we continue to get that support. Just be careful. And like you said earlier, we're looking for Celsius to get a recapture of that 32 handle. Not too far away.
Grab this spiked out of the earnings or spiked out of the open, might retake VWAP here. Grab.
Speaking of grab, Lion Atlas grabbing some gains off of his Carvana short. That was pretty good. Got 1, 2. We're on the 3rd day of downside now in Carvana.
Yep. Yeah, I had a trade with Anne Marie on this one.
How'd that work out? You haven't closed it yet?
I'm not in her trade. I'm saying she gave out a trade on this. Sorry if I was not clear.
Gotcha. Okay. Thoughts on Intel long? I think it could be worth a lot more if it spins off its foundry business.
It's been go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say it's been on a I was basically just going to look at the chart while I was bringing it up here. It's been on a pretty decent run already. God, I am really struggling, man. Here is your Intel chart. The thing for me, like, what do I think about this? As long as this can really kind of hold this 200-day, we should be in some pretty good shape. It's awesome that it's already back tested it one time here. To me, this is all about the 200. If you're looking for a trade here on Intel, this is pretty easily defined. I would actually set it up this way. Let's use the long position. Let's call the buy right here. We'll put the stop shortly or just beneath the 200-day here, and we'll put our target price right up here at the 500-day. I'm just estimating. I'm not even really being precise here. This gives us a risk to reward of just about 4.75. And I think using the chart here, this is a pretty good spot for it. The one thing I will say about this particular setup is that if you want to wait this trade out, if this doesn't really break higher, that might be a good idea. RSI here at the high end of the range. And if this can come in a little bit, I think this would set up more for another long side trade here on Intel.
I would mark the 2465 level off and just kind of use that as a reference point because that's not only where the 200 day SMA it's about there. Like I think it's a penny away from that, but also after it was reversing in the middle to second half of August. I'm sorry, of last year. It ran up to that very area and came back in before it broke through it in November, and of course it did fall back through it. But we also had a breakout, a breakout through that level as well. So it looked just recently. So I think 24.65 is a level that we definitely want to keep on our radar for as far as support goes. If it starts to close underneath that, it's likely going to head lower, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to leave this hypothetical trade idea on the chart. We'll check in on this as we continue to come back to Intel here.
Although just getting a mention that pushed through the highs of the regular session. We have pre-market highs that go up to 164. I would say if we can get through 155, 164 seems possible. But first things first, and especially with the 160 level, there is a large seller right there that would need to get taken out. So we would need to see a good increase in expansion of volume in order to get to these pre-market highs.
SINT here. This did pop, halted, resumed, came all the way back in, but it's holding up, not breaking down here on SINT. CELH struggling to get above 32. Yeah, Amazon, more lows. ONDS getting smoked again. That chart is so broken right now, man. So broken. Be careful with that too. I know I've been talking about how that's a long term for me. Look, you guys don't have the same risk profile that I do. If you can't stomach it, this trade is extremely volatile. Please don't follow me into it. The last thing I want is for more of you to be like, hey, I bought this and it's down 50% now.
So keeping an eye on the SPY, that 608 level, it is trying to get defended. Well, we just lost it again, but you can look on a 5-minute chart and you see how that 608 has been really getting a lot of support. It's still getting support. We need to start seeing the price close underneath that area if we're going to see some further breakdown, but it's starting to go sideways there.
To me, it's all about this trend line here. It's holding this trend. As long as it holds that trend, we're okay. If it breaks that, look out below.
OSRH, I think this was just halted a second ago. I could be wrong about that, but it's pushing up through VWAP right now. QBTS also coming back. Looks like a lot of these quantum names trying to recover. INOD trying to recapture 70. If it does, we might see that 72 print.
This is actually a pretty bullish formation here too. Volume is compressing, so I'd actually like to see that expand. But the formation here intraday on the 5-minute looking pretty good.
MLGO is back testing that trend line. If it continues to hold above it, which would mean that it needs to hold 370. Might see another move up to over $4.
What trend on this one? The trend line that you were?
Yeah, and remember I was looking at your chart and I was looking at my broker's chart.
Yeah, I didn't.
There's that one really wild print that just popped and dropped. So I don't know if that was a misprint on my end, and I'm just drawing but I mean the trend line's working. So looks like Celsius may end up losing its 200 EMA if it cannot hold up 31.15.
Fubo. Fubo, this holding the 200 EMA on the 5 after that sell-off. Maybe we get a move back to the VWAP there. We can recapture 4. What was the other one? TSSI? Was that the one Ryan was trading recently? Feel like it. This right back down. This 14 area is pretty important for this. 14 and then 1350. That area between 1350 and 14. Pretty good support here. TSSI. UNH, so this is up off the lows here. And actually, this might be trying to go higher here as this is holding the VWAP still. UNH.
I was asked about UNH, and I haven't looked at that yet. Let me take a look. So there's, hold on a second. What a gap down that was. So this could just be like a really low RSI bounce play, because an investigation into how they bill Medicare. I mean, how much of Medicare is their revenue?
Don't know offhand.
So that could, I mean, I would have to dig more into that to understand, just how much this could affect the company. But to me, it looks like it needs to hold 430. Otherwise, we will end up going lower.
Looks like INOD is going to try and break and go higher here. Watch that 71 levels. 70. What was the top end of that stick there? 72.32. Your pre-market high.
Or was that after hours when they had earnings?
This was yesterday in the after hours post earnings.
Yeah.
Or did I say pre-market high? Sorry about that. Hooters in talks to prepare bankruptcy filing in the coming months.
Oh no.
I don't know. The picture that I see here on Twitter has John Daly ripping a heater. I'm not really sure why, but LOL.
Right, Uzi? No. Okay, well, it looks like Celsius may not be done, but it needs to get back above VWAP. NASS also trying to recover, still beneath its VWAP. MLGO, it lost that trend line. We'll see if it can recapture it, but it's still above VWAP as well.
Lion, take care of yourself. Have a good weekend.
Great job this week, Lion. We'll see you next week.
Here is your CELH chart. Again, I think it's going to have to do with the VWAP here.
Yep. We get above that, we could see better trading, but once again, heavy float and that consolidation from the pre-market.
I should get some wings before they close. So many memories from back in high school.
I'm glad we can keep it clean.
Oh, man, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
And Macroalgo trying to recapture that trend line.
Let's see what else we got going on here.
Man, all this exciting action, and I just the time just has gone away. We're already in 10:21. Hooters is good for one thing and two things only.
WIMI trying to go for its pre-market highs. WIMI hologram cloud.
Looks like the market's getting a little tired. What are you thinking? Ooh, we really did lose that 608 level in SPY.
Yeah, we lost this trend line here, but if we look back to yesterday, we traded around it, and then we actually finished green. I'm trying not to make declarations on the day this early. I wouldn't be surprised. I actually kind of hinted at this earlier today as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this especially if this stays along this trend line here, wouldn't be terribly shocked if this turned around here today. Not saying that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked. I'll be watching for that.
So the SPY yesterday, as soon as I jumped off the stream, that was the low of the day.
Yep.
So maybe wait until I'm done talking here, folks.
Palantir, how are we doing on Palantir? Okay, so this is actually rolling over a little bit. Palantir, I think we're going to test 100 here again. Still waiting out my 60 on Palantir. Celsius still trying to get back above 32.
You got puts in Palantir?
No. I'm saying I'm waiting for 60 because I want to start initiating a long term, and I really want this to come in substantially. Gotcha. MLGO here, looking for that 4 spot that Crow was calling for.
I think Crow and Steven, boom, there it goes. And 435 is the pre-market high, so that would be the next resistance area that I'd be looking
My
at.
chart is broken. My quote is still working, but my chart is not.
Hey, you know, if it's helping you, Steve, then go for it, man.
At least someone's helping Steve.
Looks like INOD still trying push up through that 71 level. MLGO holding 410.
China stocks continuing here. Pindu Oduo looking really good here today. How's Baba looking? Same. Baba actually possibly a break above yesterday's intraday high.
INOD still struggling with 71. Could start to roll over. Be careful.
Coinbase, well, gave up all those gains that we had in the pre-market here.
Almost a 435 on micro algo. We just popped right up to that and pulled. Micro algo hit 435 and then this turned around.
Man, I don't think my charts are. Yeah. These are missing data. I don't know what's going on here. I really don't know what. My broker has that 439, just like you said, 13. Big pull there off that spot. Chris, trying short from 438. Good Lord. You got that fast. Nice job on that.
Dang, really? Wow. That's a nice grab. You got some quick
sure
hands.
Was. MLGO starting to curl back up here, though. Oh, the 5-minute chart doesn't show up, but the 1 minute does.
What?
That price handle that I said I was missing. I wasn't missing it, just wasn't visible on the 5. Interesting.
Celsius still looking like it's having a hard time getting back above 32. Going to test that 200 EMA on the 5-minute again, which is at about 3110.
OSRH beneath its VWAP here. Market continuing to pull, yeah.
SPY hitting the lows from yesterday, a little bit earlier this time. What do we got here? Micro algo still pushing up higher. Celsius looking like it could lose that EMA that I mentioned, the 200 EMA on the 5-minute, if it doesn't reverse here.
I'll tell you what, this SPY chart, this sure looks like this is trying to go lower. We'll see if we bounce here today. I'll be watching for it still, but man, oh man, this sure looks like this is going to go lower.
INOD could break out here. Needs a little bit more volume, but it's right there at the $71 level again. SPY broke beneath yesterday's lows. Yep. I know it's right there at that 71 level again, trying to push through it, still having a bit of a time. I think it'd have to break out of 71 in the next 5 or 10 minutes. It's starting to hammer that level more frequently. If we don't break above that pretty soon, I think there's just going to be capitulation. Just give up on trying to break above that. And
you got the volume kind of compressing as we get up to this resistance level.
Yeah. Meanwhile, MLGO is still trying to push up after hitting that.
Still pulling, NASDAQ still pulling, whole market pulling.
there any news?
I was just looking up at CNBC, but it's it's Megan talking about the IRS cuts. I don't think that's anything there. Major indexes are trading lower as a decline in U.S. consumer sentiment, also following weak guidance from Walmart, continuing for the weakened consumer. I will say we have been talking about a weakening consumer for far longer than the talking heads and the people on CNBC. Far longer.
They probably just, want to protect themselves and not make those kind of discussions or predictions. That would be my thought.
They'll throw the market in turmoil graphic up when the market has sold off for several days. But here we go. SPY continuing to push lower. I do want to see if this holds, but I mean, I don't want to be. I'm thinking back to the rest of this week, and I realize, we've bounced after pulls like this. So I don't want to make too early of a call here.
Yeah, I mean, 605.90, 606, that area, that 10-cent range, that would be the next area I could see support kicking in. But if we lose that, then I think we're going to under 605. I think we're going to hit like maybe 604.75, 604.80. So we'll see what happens. OSRH trying to push back up through VWAP here.
See if there's anything going on.
I know I'd be a little concerned about now coming in. I don't know that I necessarily want to hold on to this or try for that break above 71. We've just had 3 attempts to break over it. Both, all 3 have not, resulted in a breakout. I'd be a little bit more concerned about some selling in INOD now.
Stephanie Link said she's buying UNH yesterday. Nobody knows. Stephanie's good, though. She's been around for a while. Take a look here at MLGO. Worst part about these couple of weeks for me, I feel gun shy. On new trades. Gotta shake that. Otherwise, I'm going to be in real big trouble.
I know under 70. I think it's going to have to hold 69 in order for it to try again for 71. But if we lose 69, then VWAP is going to be the next support.
And the AAS maybe putting in an intraday bottom, but the volume unappealing there. OSRH building above its VWAP.
Micro Algo still trying to get back and hold above 435.
Might as well just leave this on the screen. Ryan, Trade Mindfully is an amazing book. Have you ever read it? What's your favorite trading book? No, I've never read that. The Brett Steenberger's Daily Day Trading Coach is a really good one. Trade Like a Market Wizard for Mark Minervini, also a really good one.
Yeah, things are looking questionable at best. It really does look like Celsius wants to come in, though. Now, if I look at the daily here, actually, let me look on Benzinga. Okay, so I have a level here at $30. I don't know when I put this in, but
$30 spiking.
$30 would be an interesting area of support for Celsius.
MLGO new highs right there.
Sure did.
It's going for 450 now.
Well, my next upside target beyond that is going to be 650. Don't know if we'll see it, but that's what I have marked off from who knows how long ago.
This guy, is there a Benzinga stream similar to PreMarket Playbook for the end of the day closing bell? Not really. I do a Zoom call called Happy Hour, which you hear me referencing. That's not a YouTube stream though. That's only for Benzinga Pro subscribers. So you actually have to be subscribed to the tool here. And it's a different format, right? Like for the PreMarket Playbook show, we're trying to get you caught up on the news, caught up on what's going on in the pre-market, and then do some trading with you here. The end of the day show is almost no trading and more conceptual discussion on individual names as well as macro events and things of that nature. Trading ideas, sharing, stuff like that. We had a great one last night.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say yesterday was a really good.
Yeah, yesterday was awesome.
We had a lot of really seasoned folks talk about what they're seeing in the market. We had you have to remind me of his name, who came on and talked about quantum and all the different the chips and whatnot.
Yeah, Mayhem. That was a really good breakdown on some of those quantum names. By the way, MLGO here, more of a huge push and more new highs here. This continuing to go higher here. This is, someone just said, I think a second ago, this feels haltish, Crow. This feels haltish here. Indeed, it does. MLGO, 480, your high here. And through, oh my God, the volume here starting to expand as well, MLGO. Big Swole Game, and we cannot tell you what to do. You're asking, what should my stop loss be? That is a personal question for your own risk parameter. We cannot tell you where to buy, where to sell, or where to stop out.
All we can tell you is what we're seeing on these charts, and we can provide you with some potential levels. There's no guarantee they get hit, but more times than not, we've seen them get hit. So you just formulate a plan around some of the information we're trying to provide to you. Wow, they are really pushing it. So yeah, 650 would be the next upside target MLGO for me. I don't know if we're even going to get there, but that's just the next level that I have.
Is this just from a daily, or let me turn these off? This thing is so hard to see.
I've had levels in MLGO for probably a while since we've traded. We've gone back and forth with trading it. Like I remember last year we traded this. I think we may have traded it toward the end of last year. But I've got levels going all the way up to 960. So, could end up hitting them.
Okay.
We actually moved through the 65 EMA on the daily today. So that's a pretty significant move. Whether or not we close above it, that remains to be seen. So far, we're approaching MLGO. We're $5. We're through that now. Wow, look at this thing go.
I know. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. Sucks that I am not in this.
And let's see here. So, but yeah, as far as MLGO goes, I would, I'm just looking at the 650 area.
And Ryan, no, there's no halt on this yet today.
Nope.
Actually, this right here, I know is a 1 minute chart, but that actually looks like a topping candle. Volume is still expanding. I don't even want to make a call. I've made a mess of my own thing here. I'll help you guys. Just watch it though.
OSRH, that's halted. It's halted following a downside move. So it could have just been one of those things where it has the big downside move and starts the halting process, moves into the next minute, and then halts. You tell me if that's what you're seeing. MLGO, that's just a crazy move up over the past 20, 30 minutes. Let's see if we can see where this maybe comes down to for support. Well, of course, we're going to have that 435 level that we were looking at earlier. That was the pre-market high. So I would say that would be a good place to start. Let's see if we even get support from MLGO at that 435 if it gets down there.
Craig's asking about FedEx. There was some talk about the post office being privatized. FedEx here down 6.5%. I don't see any news on this. Let me take a look around and see. I don't see anything fresh here from this, but this clearly under pressure here, and UPS not Not trading similarly. FedEx clearly diverging here from UPS. UPS is down a little bit, but fairly negligible. Amazon is down, actually. Amazon.
I nod after hitting that 71 and hitting it multiple times, got rejected. This was kind of what I was talking about here. If we could not push through 71 on that last candle, that was flirting with it. So now we're back down, touching VWAP. Not saying that this is done quite yet. I'd need to see a break beneath VWAP and maybe even start losing some of the high 60s in order for me to be like, yeah, this thing's pretty much done for now. But also the MACD is looking to roll over. So next 5-10 minutes should tell us if INOD's going to head lower or not.
Yeah, so Craig, I think just Amazon and FedEx here moving on the privatization of the Postal Service.
So how is UPS looking then?
UPS is fairly unaffected.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like NAAS tried to get back up to VWAP. Not too successful with moving over it. A lot of these quantum names that we're running this morning getting hammered now. Rigetti, D-Wave, Ionic, they're all getting slammed. So
nasty moves here. This is actually green to red. This was a nice move up too, and a pretty big green to red move here on some of these quantum names. I guess you could watch for a possible bounce spot here around 11. I'd be careful with those two though.
Yeah, so for me, as long as MLGO holds above 435, there could be more, so a little bit more trading. I don't know why I keep saying 435. Yeah, it's 435 was the high for me in the pre-market. So yeah, 435 would be the level I'd be watching for support. If we do not get that, then yeah, like I said, I think it goes down to VWAP, maybe even the trend line that I was talking about earlier. But at the moment, it could be setting up a pattern to go higher. So we'll just have to wait and see if we get that movement back up.
Okay.
Still doesn't look like Celsius is quite done yet. Still trying to curl. I think it still needs to recapture VWAP before we want to get excited about it again.
Jay Wild saying USPS needs to close. All I get is junk mail anyway. I'll be honest, I am not opposed at all to the privatization of the Postal Service. I used to do a lot of buying and selling on eBay, and man, oh man, the Postal Service just absolutely terrible. Just absolutely terrible. So not really opposed to any of this stuff here. But we'll see what it means. We'll see how it all shakes out here. FedEx, another leg lower here. Market still trying to hold here, 606.70 at the moment. CELH maybe curling. We'll see if that can get back above the VWAP. That's going to be the big story here. Micro Algo lost 5, but it's doing a really good job still holding higher here.
Yeah, getting a little bit of bounce in that SPY price action. Looks like Celsius is trying to recapture 32. If it does that, we might see a recapture of VWAP as well. MACD looking like it's going to cross over here. 32, that's the big level. You can see there's a large seller right there as well.
On CELH, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So OSRH open and now lower. Kind of at a little bit of a support area. It doesn't look like this is going to hold up. And I say that, and then it starts dropping. So the timing is wonderful as usual. Looks like you have 465 as another potential support level. I'm not going to throw too much weight behind that. Beneath that, you have the 65 EMA on the 5-minute and the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Those values are 447 and 415.
Yeah, the 65 EMA on the 5, you were saying? Yeah. Yep.
Somebody's saying hollow nice. Oh, yeah, it had a nice new regular session highs. Pre-market high, though, 164. So not quite there yet, but not too far away either. There's still that large seller at 160 we were talking about earlier. volume really has to expand to take that guy. It's a pretty big wall of sellers there at 160 that needs to get taken out.
SPY here just kind of holding lower here. Not looks like the breakdown is kind of slowed down here. Same thing on the NASDAQ. Dow's been stable for a bit. So maybe we found our intraday bottom.
We'll see. It started doing this before it lost 607. So
that's true. That's true.
I would want to see it's recapture 608. I'm sorry, I should have said 608. We started seeing this when it was trying to hold above 608. It lost that eventually. I would need to see a turnaround and recapture 608 first, but it looks like we may end up heading lower.
MLGO, a shakeout on that last pull here, and now rip to the highs. Tell you what,
fantastic.
Like I said, if you guys made money on this, really good stuff. This was not an easy trade here today. Take care of yourself, Judge.
Take care, Judge. Now, if Celsius could do something similar, that'd be pretty cool. NAS, I say NAS, but it's NAAS. Can I just say NAS?
I don't mind.
Okay,
we've covered it enough.
NAS trying to still trying to hold above some of these the 65 EMA and trying to push up to VWAP. SPY lost that level.
Yeah, just when I said it was holding up there, it just made me look like a complete moron.
Oh,
more new lows here.
You're not a moron, dude.
No, I know. It's just that's what it feels like. Like when you get in these ruts, it feels like I can't do anything right. I can't even make calls correctly here. Wild stuff. Q's also broke down too. Now the Dow started to roll a little bit. Yep, that actually might be the hunting for some new lows here as well.
So 547 in MLGO is what we just printed. If we're going to continue upwards to 650, we don't want to see this. I'd say we wouldn't want to see this lose 485. That's what I would say. I don't even know if we'll get down there before we hit 650, but if we do see a little bit of weakness, I think we'd want to see 485 hold up.
Sorry, which ticker?
This is MLGO.
MLGO. Yep. I guess I shouldn't have even asked. I should have just known.
Okay, well, here we go. About to push up through the high of the regular session, or we're flirting with it anyway. And Celsius also trying to push up to 32. How are those other quantum names doing? Are they rebounding? Looks like D-Wave is trying to. Rigetti finally showing us a bit of a green candle after a series of reds, but I'm going to temper my expectations with that.
QUBT, this is down near this is actually at a support level here.
Yeah, and then here we go with Celsius. That just reclaimed 32, trying to move through VWAP. Then you have the 65 EMA above that at 32.97. So that would be another level to target.
I've got 32.45 as my VWAP there on my broker.
What a great move in Celsius this is having right now.
Yep, right to that VWAP. We'll see if it can push above here. And remember, this is where it stopped and got mutumboed earlier. CEO of Celsius is going to be on Kramer on Monday. That's the after-hour show on Kramer, not the morning thing with him, right?
SPY hit that level of support that I was looking at earlier, 605.80, before we got this reversal. So cool.
Sorry.
No worries. I'm done.
Celsius, that was just kind of a little bit of a pull there pretty quickly. Right back on, though, 32.45. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier this time through that VWAP. That's going to be the big one.
Messroar was asking about how can we can we shed some light onto why a move like MLGO is happening without any news. And if I was going to start, I'd say first of all, it's a very low float stock, so it's very easy to move around like this. It's part of a bit of a theme that we identified earlier this morning, and maybe earlier this week with quantum names potentially coming back.
MLGO trying to go through here. Sorry.
Perfect, no problem. Celsius also moving up to the 65 EMA. But it's also that a lot of these China names are also getting some attention at this week. So that's helping it give a lift. And as we were talking about earlier, we're trying, there's China investors, some of the wealthier ones, trying to get money out of China and into the US market. So this is creating a liquidity event for them to unwind that. So several different things happening here. But you're right, MLGO has no news. It's just everybody's seeing that it's getting movement. So a lot of people are just piling into it, and the fact that it's a low float really helping it move as well.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of factors. When it comes to things like this, the best thing you can do if it's moving and has no news, don't sweat the reason why it's moving. Look for technical setups and if you want to trade it and trade it that way, because I don't think there's a lot of fundamentals you can draw on as to where this is going to go. It's going to be just mostly technicals at that point, in my opinion.
And you're right, 13. And it does really seem like what they're doing is they're just trading the technical, right? The chart, the stock moves in whatever the chart says, right? If the chart has a setup that's showing like a bullish technical setup, it can move there on no volume. Celsius now through that VWAP there at 32.45 here. It did try to push a second ago, got slammed back down, but a very quick recapture here. This is actually a decent thing you'd want to see here. We'll see if this can actually build. Celsius is really struggling.
That candle is about to close, so if we continue to hold above VWAP, that could continue to give it another lift. Meanwhile, MLGO went right down to let's see, the low was 476 and just recaptured that. So a little bit beneath that I think I said it was 485, that level that needed to hold. So far, it's holding and it's turning around now. So let's see if this continues to push up it's already back into the 5 handle. This might get going again here. Just keep in mind that just keep an eye on that 485 level. We start closing beneath that on the smaller time frames, like the 1 minute and 5 minute. I think that you're going to see some more downside at MLGO.
Okay. CELH, this is trying. It's trying to stay above its VWAP here.
Sure is.
Let's see if it can actually hold this right here. I think that maybe this can go higher. And 13, your $33 price target here, which is that 65 EMA on the 5. I think that looks pretty good. It can stay above. Yeah. You can see we're starting to get some wicks above on both of these 5-minute candles. Let's see if we can get this. Come on, push higher here. Real quick, Captain Obvious here. Is Sandra with you guys and gals this week? We're going to have Anne-Marie coming up here in 9 minutes. From what I understand, no Sandra this week. She should be back, but not this week. Captain Obvious.
If Celsius, CELH, if Celsius does start to come back in a little bit, we're going to want to see it hold above VWAP because that would give us a really good setup for this to push higher up to that 65 EMA.
Yep.
I love it when the technicals really work out. So far, technicals have been working out a lot better than they have earlier this week, as far as I can tell.
Here we go on CELH. I can't wait to move Cleo back in here. There is so much bird activity outside. Spring really is coming. Spring is coming.
Yeah, he's going to be tweeting those snowbirds.
Well, I mean, snowbirds is right. There's tons of snow outside. These birds are trying to make. I have like this hole in the overhang right outside of my office window, and birds have made a nest in there. And these birds are trying to reclaim it here. It looks like we got 2 different species of birds trying to claim this nest.
Okay, Celsius.
I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted here. Trying not to look at this here.
No problem. Celsius approaching that 65 EMA. Almost there.
You know what? F it. Taking it right here. Okay. Finally got a W on the screen, for heaven's sakes. My God. I feel like that's the only winning trade of the week. I got 25 cents there. What a struggle. Now I can at least relax. Now I can take a breath.
You're gonna have a good weekend, dude.
I'm trying to. Yes, I am gonna have. Yes, the wine is gonna be awesome tonight. I'll tell you. I'll tell you that much. This might even go higher. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Somehow I got out with a gain.
It's the 65 EMA that I'm out now, but the 65 EMA was where I was.
I wasn't even gonna wait. I wasn't even gonna wait for that. I was like, watch this thing get up near there, flush, and then just completely like come back in. I was like, you know what? Just take it here. Now that I'm out, guys, you guys are all good to go. Higher we go here, right through that 33.
I'm not in this anymore. I think I'm just gonna thank the market for everything it's given me today and just kind of move on. I don't know that it gets back up through this consolidation. Celsius could be really good long term, but I think you might see some weakness here with the rest of the broader market. So it could pull this stock down as well. That consolidation from the pre-market is going to be the big concern for me from this point here. So I don't think I would want to be trading this one anymore until maybe after the lunch hour, because I think you're going to see a lot of volume dry up as we approach that. So I'm done with Celsius for now.
Okay. Ivan saying, Ryan, do you know Pause Chicago? That's like the adoption thing downtown into training for dogs. Ivan, I have no personal experience with it, but I know of what you're speaking about. Do you know? Yes, I know of it. Thanks, guys, for being nice. Thanks for giving me the congrats. I appreciate that. There's nothing to write home about. That's for sure. It feels like that little win. That little. Oh, by the way, yeah, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I'll be launching that next. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. That's probably not the time to make that joke. Peach vibe and vodka for Ryan. No, I'm going to stay away from the hard liquor. We're going to do wine tonight. Steve saying, do you guys trade all day? So the show does not go all day. Sometimes, depending on the work obligations, I'll trade longer into the day. I have another job that I tend to, so I generally don't sit hitting the buy and sell all day long. It drives me insane.
I will trade after the show. A lot of times what I do is I just kind of sit in the happy hour chat and just start posting things that I'm seeing and setups, trades, things that, potentially have to work out. Wait, go ahead.
So I was going to say, let me show that while you're talking about it. We actually have a visual aid for this. We talk about the happy hour show a lot on this show because 13 and I are on that pretty much every day. Here's the deal. We're in Pro. We have a chat room that is dedicated to that happy hour show. And obviously there's a lot of crossover with the morning show here as well. You will often hear me reference people from the happy hour that are active participants in this chat room. So 13, I'm sorry for stealing your thunder there.
No worries. But yeah, so I just a lot of times what I do, and I don't have like another job. I mean, I do different kinds of investing, but I'm always reading news, trying to learn and research as much as possible for the next thing that's coming up. It's why when I get really into something and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a really, really great theme. I'll end up writing like a report on it. And I don't do that very often, but so far the ones I've written have been pretty dang good. The space theme was the last one I did. That turned out to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that really was.
So
data center we did before. We had help from Stay Focused, who sometimes comes around here as well.
The data center thing, yeah. So we I love looking into things and researching stuff, so I can position myself ahead of the big move that's going to happen. And that's what I like doing, when I'm not actively trading, is looking for the next big theme that we can position ourselves in to take advantage of. Homework.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Homework.
Real quickly here. You're welcome, Steve. Hellcat, Ryan, are you a software developer? No. Kind of wish that I had skills for that, but no. Ivan, it's my distant aunt. So Pause Chicago is owned by your distant aunt. That's interesting. I will hit you up. I do have an orphanage, a no-kill shelter that's not far from my house that I've used several times over the course of my life. They're fantastic. And I really enjoy rescuing animals when I get the chance to do that. Izzy, do you guys work from home? Yes.
I'm at home.
I am at home too. I made a home office. Yes, absolutely.
And it's
Ryan, what do you call a basement? What do you call a basement full of traders? A wine cellar. not bad, Crow. That's not bad. Ryan, take care of yourself, man. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for all of your participation and calls here in the show. We appreciate you. Izzy, take care of yourself. Steve-O, take care of yourself if you're out.
Let's see here.
CELH, by the way, this kept going. I don't even care.
No, I'm not. I don't want to touch it now. I don't want to touch it right now. I have concerns. I have concerns that that consolidation in the pre-market's going to create a good amount of resistance for it. Remember, this is a heavy float stock.
Yeah.
I think we had a great trade after it moved back up through VWAP and hit that 65 EMA. I'm not gonna get greedy. I think I did a really good job on that. I'm done with that one for now. Wanted to shout out iNod right here. I think we're going to probably see it lose VWAP not too far out from here, because it's starting to put in a bearish pattern. It kind of looks like it may either be kind of like a triple top that we just put in the intraday session on the 5-minute chart. So you can see it right there. You could also say that, hey, that looks pretty head and shoulders to me, but either way, I think this iNod chart is looking bearish, and I think we could be losing VWAP here at some point soon. So I'd be careful with iNod.
13, we're still waiting on Anne-Marie here, so we're not quite ready to go yet. I'm going to step away real quick before she arrives, and I'll be right back, okay?
No problem. So let's see what hey, take care, Kevin. Have a good weekend, man. And you too, Hellcat. Let's see. So what else do you guys want to take a look at? Looks like we're getting some recovery here from the SPY after it hit that 680 level and turn around. So to the upside now, we're going to want to see it recapture 607.50, and after that 608, that big level that we were talking about this morning before we really got this selling to come in. So those would be the next levels that we need to recapture. It's going to be the buy the dippers that are going to have to come in and get this, because that's just the way it's been. So those would be where I would want to see the price get recaptured if we're going to continue to see the same kind of price action we had yesterday, where after we bottomed in the morning, we just started trading back up for the rest of the day. I don't know that we'll get the exact same price, but those are the levels I would need to see recaptured to make me feel more confident that we could end up going higher than 608. What else? So you're asking about Hood. Okay. Let's see what's going on with Hood.
Well, we can let's do that real quick, and then we'll get over to Anne-Marie. I just wanted to take a quick break before we started there. I'll bring Hood up. Let's do that, and then maybe we can even ask Anne-Marie about Hood. I don't know what she's got on the docket, but let's see.
So I don't think I need to tell you what I'm looking at.
No, because you don't, because I said that when I told you that the floating island was invalidated, the next case that I drew was exactly what's happened here. When we broke the bottom of this candle with this candle, the one from Tuesday, I said the next stop here is probably a gap fill and a hold at the 20-day moving average. And lo and behold, look where we're at.
So the next thing that I would want to see out of Hood is a move away from the 20-day SMA, and we probably might not get that until next week. But that's going to be the level that's going to tell me that if we start closing beneath that, the 50 is going to be in play. And I don't know if that I'd want to be necessarily holding this to because it's going to take us under 50. That's a pretty good drop down from where we're at right now. That would be a 15 to 16% drop from where we are right now. So not something I would want to hold into.
Yeah, I could see this coming into the 50-day. Okay, 13, you got any closing words here for the group? I do want to say this. Zahur is saying both me and 13 are Trump and Elon's enemy because we work from home. To be very clear, they want to stop the federal government from working at home because they feel like they're stealing taxpayer money, which is true. So we are a little bit different. We are not funded by taxpayers. Okay, 13, you got any closing remarks here for the group before we bring on the one and only Anne-Marie?
Yes, I don't work for anybody other than myself.
Let's go. Let's go, dude. That's what we needed.
And I appreciate everybody being here this week. It's been been a really, really volatile week. I hope you guys have a great time with Anne-Marie. She's wonderful. You're going to have a great time learning some options ideas from her. Folks, next week could be volatile as well. I'll see you on Monday. Take care of yourselves.
Rest up for the NVIDIA earnings. 13, take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. We will see 13 next week. But before we head off into the weekend. Let's bring on Anne Marie and see how she's doing. Anne Marie, how you doing here? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. It's been an interesting one so far.
It has been an interesting one indeed. I'll tell you what, Anne Marie, February has been a battle for me, and I all I've done here today in the positive side is I've eked out a 30+ cent day trade, and I feel like I feel like I had to work for that. So it has been interesting. Absolutely. We do have a lot going on. I'm gonna go ahead and bring on your charts here. So let me ask you, I know sometimes we talk ahead of time about some stocks that folks might be looking at. I didn't have anything lined up, although I do have some ideas here, but I wanted to check in with you first. What are you seeing out there? Is there something that you want to take a look at? Oh, I love it. If coin is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's done just exactly what we thought it would. And let me show you why. We'll start there. Come on, fellas. What are you doing? Okay. We're going to take a look at a coin here. And we drew a Fibonacci all the way. Let's see where our first fib. Our first fib was the high here on, what day is that? The 5th
December
of December.
5th. Yeah.
To the low at 240. And then we drew a bigger fib that had the very highs to the low just before the earnings event. And wouldn't you know it, we came right into that 250 area yesterday, bounced, and now we are sort of giving a little bit of that back. But 250 is one of those big fat round numbers. And so we could trade on both sides of this if you want to. And so let's have a look. Let's anticipate that we either could go to the gap at 220 or come back to the 275 zone. So we're looking at about a $25 range from where we are right now. And so let's give that a look. First off, I do want to say that we've got a couple of iron condors that are doing pretty well here. And we are going to stand pat with those. What we can do is look into March and say, all right, let's see what okay, why is my mouse being so unreasonable today? Let's probably operator error. I'm not going to lie.
Lack of cheese, perhaps. Oh, that mouse.
Yes.
13's not here. I got to make the dad joke when I can.
All right. So let's say that 220 is where we go in the chart all the way to, whoopsie, that would be a sell, Anne Marie. That's what bid is. Okay. So let's buy the 220s. A lot of volume there. And we're going to sell the 200s, and we're going to sell 2 of those. It's expensive. And then we're going to go to 180. So that's a $2,000 range on the formation into that edge into March. It's going for about $1.60. So you might be saying to yourself, well, that's pretty expensive. However, what I've noticed on the trade action is these higher priced butterflies are actually doing better than the cheaper butterflies. I don't know why at this juncture, but that is what I'm seeing. So let's say we go 270 to 290. And then to 310. Both running at about $1.60 to $1.70. So for $300, you have a potential upside range of a $2,000 max profit, and it feels like it's really in line with what our charts are saying in terms of, hey, if we move into these edges, they're going to have some range. Now, let's think about this. What if it takes a couple of months to actually do that, as opposed to just a few weeks? And we push it into April, you can see how much premium is sitting in these areas. They're much more expensive on the put side, about the same price on the call side. So my thought is, why don't we stagger that? Why don't we do the March for the potential downside fade, because there's a ton of volatility in March, and then let's choose the upside for April. And so that gives us about $300 risk-wise and $2,000 upside. So here's the very interesting thing about a trade like this. If the market is in some sort of correction space that we anticipate that we might be in, the put side could easily double very quickly if we move into our support zones. And our call side way out in April isn't going to lose quite as much value.
Okay.
This makes another space of, hey, maybe we're in a really wide range and it ends up looking like this. So that's my thought about what to do with coin. Again, not very cheap, but these certainly are regions that the price action says, hey, we're coming in there. And if it turns around very nicely, you can if it comes down into that 220, hangs around near the 200, we can close the entire butterfly, or as it bounces, we can take that 220 for profit if it moves into that 220 area, which would be about, $30 off where we are. You can see that option will likely be worth about $10, and you can take the profit there, buy another 180. So what you're sitting is in a short bull put spread while you let your call work out. If it gets to be the space where the chart continues to fall, you can simply get out of the call butterfly in April for, maybe a 10 to 20% haircut.
Okay. Now, that's pretty clear if we end up moving down. If we just kind of move up from here, would you consider just closing that April butterfly early if you get gains in it, or are you trying to wait this out no matter what?
So I want to wait it out a little bit because I think it's pretty sideways.
Okay.
And so my thought would be, that's going to be your gut, whatever it is that you suspect the market's going to do. I still think, even though Robinhood is fading today, it just had a lot of short interest. That short squeeze got sucked out of the range. Both of these might start to work in tandem. And so that really brings us to the next space that might give us a little bit more understanding about what coin is. Hello, that's Hood. By taking a look at Robinhood, because I think these two guys are going to trade a little bit in tandem now that Hood is coming after some of that revenue from coin.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that. And this is perfect because this is actually another one that I was going to suggest. When we do get the chart here, you're going to see you're actually at a pretty interesting spot here. So I'm curious to see how you set this one up.
Yeah. So as we take a little snooze
We
here,
do more waiting for data than anyone else I know,
know.
Anne-Marie. It's wild.
I'm telling you. Okay, so here we are. Notice my thought was, I think we talked about this last time. I said, hey, if it holds this 60, we're off to the races. If it doesn't hold the 60, it's going to fill the gap.
Yep.
And so it's filling the gap right here. So the question is, does it continue to fill the gap? And excuse me, does it continue to come down off of the giant range, off of the last congested support down there at 48? Or do we see a lift? My thought is we potentially see a lift here. And so if you're thinking to yourself, hey, if this price lifts, and I am thinking hood and coin are going to do the same thing, maybe I just take the call side of the coin trade and I take a call side on this event. And so let's take a look at that. Let's go Simple Simon first. Let's say you love coin and you're thinking to yourself, hey, this is going to bounce. Did I talk about this long-term September trade? You hang on to it. It's the 70, 80, 90 call. If they continue to beat the pants off of coin, this is going to continue to move up. If you want to go further out and say, I'm going to give it until January of next year. That's 68 bucks for $1,000 move to the upside. And these are just the regular butterflies, the 70, 80, 90. Now, I just came off a comment that said, hey, these more expensive butterflies are working, and now all of a sudden you're showing me a cheap one. The difference is the amount of time we're giving it to work.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you don't want to give it a lot of time to work and you're just looking at the potential bounce in March. Let's say it recovers that 60 area and it goes back to 70. You could buy yourself just a vertical, the 60-70 call spread. It'll give you 1,000 points of upside if it comes into 70 for $168 debit, or you could turn it into a butterfly, expecting that in the near term, it won't get to 80 and you shave off another 30 bucks off of that range. To me, it's up to you. The butterflies have more legs. They cost a little more. It's whatever your choice is from that perspective. If you say, hey, I'm just thinking it's going to have a nice reflexive bounce and come into 70, you can go the straight call. Here's the thing, though. That's extrinsic.
Mm-hmm.
The delta is 13. It tells us that there's only a 13% chance of that option expiring at or in the money. The break even would be $70.61. So you might say to yourself, hey, if I'm going to do that and I think it's going to hold 50, I may as well sell the vertical and collect my 84 cents. Yes, it does require margin, but you can also mitigate part of the cost of that call. And if the call does nothing, meaning price action either sits tight or fades a little, but doesn't drop off a cliff, you're going to collect that 84 cents. You could also say, you know what? I think this thing is going to move, so I'm just going to sell the 50s. And if it gives me the stock, I've collected it at
Yeah.
$48.74. And then if it goes to 70, I can just sell a call, turn it into a covered call event if it continues to move, and I can roll it up and get myself involved in the trade that way. A lot of ways to trade
Yeah.
hood, but they are coming after coin. It seems very likely to me that we see them try to pick up more of this market share.
Okay. Interesting. And then I like that covered call strategy too, because even if the coin continues to run and your shares get called away, if that happens at 70 and your basis was 48, that's a homer.
Exactly.
So, okay. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, you know what? I gotta give a hat tip to your show, and
We'll take it.
your traders in the show. They're all super bright
Mhm.
and really on top of it. Someone said a couple of days ago, "Don't you think it's time for Palantir short?" And the price is literally $20 lower than it was when that chime came in from the trader. So the question is this: was that a shaking of the trees that shook out all the weak hands, and we're sitting around the big fat round number of 100, and the price action moves to the north? Or are we going to start to build a little bit of congestion here, maybe rotate to where the value areas? You got it right, 13, and you are definitely one of those guys in the list. Gonna give you and Ryan some major props. You guys, sorry I missed this morning, had a lot going on, but man, I am definitely going to be watching the replay action. So that being said, take a look at where the stock came into. Notice
Mhm.
huge gap up off of earnings. All of a sudden, the trader said, "I'll buy that. I'll buy the gap." So the question is this: can we recover over the heavy congestion of 118 or the big fat round number at 110? If we can, we'll be off to either a double top near that 125, 127-ish area and then break higher, or we head back down to that 70-ish area, 79 actually, where the support is. And so I have another double butterfly here with some
Awesome.
time. Now, you might say to yourself, I'm not interested in the double butterfly. I want to trade this long. I love Palantir. I think they've got legs. This was just a little shakeout. There's a lot saying that you could be right because it came right off of that 95-ish area and just really ran to the top. And so what is this guy called? What is this kind of candle called?
That looks
At
like a
the
hammer
bottom
to
of a
me.
right. And so that's normally bullish because we've got no sellers coming in below 94, and we closed near the high. So the question is, maybe we can go to 110. So let's talk about all the different ways we could trade that. And as you can see, I've got a ton of
Mhm.
trades sitting around in here. Here's one interesting one. Let's say the price action is down and it retests the bottom and gives us a bottoming formation after filling the gap. That's going to be, I need to cover that. Move this one out of the way so we can see. So that's going to give us and she erases it. Oh, joy.
You know how many times I've done that in Thinkorswim and I've gone to be like Control Z and it's like, no, there is no undo. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel your pain. I've been there. I've literally done that myself.
So let's do the 100, 90, 80 spread. That's $1.43. Okay. And if you're thinking it's going to run into next year, you might use something like 90, 70, 50
Hmm.
or something, but that's very expensive at this juncture. So let's just say, hey, we'll give it until March. This is sort of my insurance. If it comes down, I can cover it very quickly and I'll be off to the races. And then we look at, hey, what if it holds that 110 and gets to 118? So let's choose 115. A lot of traders sitting at 120. So we're going to go to 125. And then 135. We don't think it's going to hit 135 in the near term at all, but we could easily get back up to 125 if I mean, think about what happened with Nvidia, right? Everybody was talking about,
Yep.
oh, it's the end of the road for these guys, and they have just come out and said, I got one for you. And they've really lifted off their prices. And so Palantir could do the very same thing because there are a lot of enthusiastic buyers,
Hmm.
particularly at that 100 call. That one is about $1.20. And it gives us, that $10 of upside. So $1,000 of upside for $100 of risk looks to me like that might be the best trade in the near term. So
Okay.
if you took it now and you said, all right, I'm going to do it, you could put it in a weekly option, but we'll leave it here. If it bounces up to that 115, this thing could give you 40, 50% in just a few days, and you can cover it. And if it begins to fade, then you go look at that 190.80, right? So if you decided that you wanted to give it more time to recover, oh, for Pete's sake. Hang on, Fred. I'm not calling you Fred. I'm
I know.
calling me Fred. If you went to April, it'd only be $1. Gives it plenty of time,
Yeah.
recovery through the space, might look really, really nice. And we know, listen, this afternoon, it's going to be crazy because 32% of all open options in the entire market
Expire.
are going to expire.
Yeah.
And so we could see a lot of repositioning. We could see a ton of wicks. You got to be careful. Definitely got to be careful.
Okay. Okay, and actually, we're actually seeing the SPY. I saw or something earlier in the show that I had said is, yeah, I know we're really selling off here, but the SPY has really kind of bottomed in the morning and then traded up in the afternoon. We are
Yep.
bouncing here in the SPY, so that's something
Yep.
else to consider. Okay, I had another question here. We get this question from time to time, but I think it's probably a pretty good idea that we go back and revisit it because we often talk about butterflies here on the show. Zahur
Yes.
is asking, Anne-Marie, good morning. Where do you take profits on a butterfly? I see that most of the time I'm not able to seize and take profits on butterflies. Where or how do you put your limit orders out and to get them filled at an optimal level? So it looks like what
Great
he's looking for
question.
here, yeah, some tips on closing some of these butterflies, either target ranges or what you do to get those orders closed.
Okay, so a lot of times it's about how much profit do I want to capture and what risk do I have at stake. And so the key thing to remember about butterflies is that though they work dramatically sometimes, most of the time we have to sort of peel them off mid-cycle if we're watching our risk and we don't want to go upside down. So one of the things that I like to look at is what should happen in price action and if it's going to happen or not. So right now, I see Palantir, we'll take it for example. I've picked that 115 to 125. If we look at the chart, what we can see is price action trying to hold the lows And so my thought would be, if I lose 95, this trade is not going to be valid if I don't close the day above 95. And so I'll put a price alert there and go, listen, if I close the day under there, I got to get myself out of this trade. Okay. So a lot of the butterflies are price action oriented for
Okay.
the same reason. If I'm looking at the long side and I see this 118 being relative resistance, I'm going to put an alert there that tells me from a price action perspective, if I get up to the north, am I going to stay there? And so I want to look at that and I want to make sure that it closes there on the day, or I go back to the call butterfly and I go, this is not holding. I'm going to take my profit from here. And that might be something like, depending on how close it is to expiration, I might go, listen, I'm going to cover my 115 calls, take the profit off of there, and then turn the butterfly into the 125, 135 short call spreads, because I see it coming into resistance. The easiest way, if price action's being beautiful, the easiest way that the market can deliver upside in terms of your revenue is if it comes to the middle strike, it's time to get out of the trade. But a lot of times, especially in these markets, we come into these price formations that say, hang on, we better pump the brakes here, see what's going on.
Okay.
Long answer, I know, but that's the
No,
best
that's
one
good
I've
though.
got.
Zahura, let me know if that he did ask for Hood as an example. Maybe if we could do that. So we just talked about Hood today. Can you flip back over there and give it like a closing trade scenario here? That might actually
Absolutely.
answer his question. We got plenty of time too. Remember, folks, no Sandra today. She's not with us today. She should be back
Okay.
next week. So we have no upper boundary here, Anne Marie. But after we finish this, we can wrap it for the week.
Okay, perfect. So let's take a look at what we've got going on in Hood. The first thing, we'll just go through the butterfly action and say, we have the 60, 70, 80 calls, right? And so, yeah, we have the 60, 70, 80 calls. So peak price performance for a butterfly is for it to come in on March 21st and hit $70. That way you're going to get max profit. But that's only at expiration, and it's got to hit at 70. So if we take a look at where we are at 55, we have to think about the following. Tick tock, tick tock.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. So what I want to see here is the price action bounce off of this level. So because I have the 60, 70, 80s, the first thing I want to do is create an alert that says, tell me when it gets over 60, right? That's the first thing. It tells me, hey, I got myself 60 action right here. And so I want to see the bounce. If my price action closes below my frontline support at 53, if it closes the day under 53, it's telling me, hang on, that call side is wrong and I need to get out of this trade. Just sell the butterfly. Doesn't matter. Don't look at what you made, what you didn't make, because if we're right, it should not close below 52. It should not close below 52. And so price action tells us, hey, if it closes below 52, I'm probably going to 45.
Okay.
That's simply what it's telling us. And so if you take the long side only, it's going to give you that space that goes, hey, I don't need to close a day under 52. And you get out of it, you come in the next day, if it closes, you're gone, no matter what it is. And that way you manage the position by price. Here's the beautiful thing. If it bounces again, because the price action has given us lower lows and lower highs, not only does it have to bounce, it has to bounce, recapture a higher low, and then move up to tell us that it's moving along. So the longer we stay in the butterfly while it tries to chop around these ranges, the more that butterfly will erode.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Okay, really good answer there, Zahur. Let me know if that helps. Anne-Marie, thanks as always. Really great stuff again here this week.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next week. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you on Tuesday.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. And folks, thanks again for all of your support and participation here this week. It was a good week. We look to do another one next week. Huge week next week with NVIDIA earnings. Looking forward to that. Stay green.